for starting late tonight. We were trying to get an online presentation, and we were having some technical difficulties. So we'll move item number 2 to another meeting. We're going to try to do some, we're going to try to do some dry runs. Let's see if we get this to work. But we all know if it's on our end, if it's on their end, or if just our equipment is just too old. So, but again, we'll push item number 2 to another meeting. So move to item number 3, 2015 tax levy.
Last year we levied, the village levied $2,231,098, and this year we are asking for $2,310,906.14. Of course, this does not include the taxes that are levied for bond and interest on the existing bonds for 2008 BEC. That's automatic, that's not included in this schedule. That amounts to approximately about $694,000, plus the Cook County will add about 5% into that one to make it to 100% receivable from the Cook County. Therefore, I request the board to consider $2,310,906.14 based on last year's tax extension by the Cook County.
What was last year's amount?
Last year's amount was $2,231,098.
Last year's tax levy was $2,231,098. This year you're asking for a tax levy of $2,310,906.14.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else on the board have any questions? Trustee Burgess?
Has county paid us everything?
Not everything. By now, we might have gotten approximately about 2,225,000. Another 6,000, maybe, yeah, approximately 2,225,000. We are able to get some more $1,000 by the end of December 2015. So until December 31, you will not know exactly how much you're going to get. Probably another, I'm thinking about another $5,000 to $6,000.
What about
State, based on reconciliation now, we are pretty much in.
So they paid us everything?
They are paid, excluding MFT allocations, they have not paid. And state use tax, they have not paid so far. It's going to be coming in probably within another 10-15 days. The governor, I think, he has signed already to release, and it has to be passed by the Senate. So until then, we will not be able to.
That's what I went down to Springfield about 3 weeks ago. Went on the House side, the House passed it. Almost by bipartisanship. The Senate, the last email I received from Senator Harris said the Senate was going to go back into session this year and approve it. And we've already gotten word from the governor that he said as soon as it comes across his desk, he will sign it. So that will release our MFT funds. There's quite a bit on that bill. But a lot of people want to call it the lottery bill, because everyone makes a big deal about no one receiving their lottery money. But there was MFT funds, there was 911 funds, there was emergency service funds. There was
state
use tax. So we're hoping that this will go pretty quickly. The governor's already assured the mayors and managers and IML that as soon as they pass it, they'll go ahead and put his signature on the line.
MSB is approximately in the amount of $80,000 so far. we have to get it from state.
They just sold $80,000.
Approximately.
Are we all caught up with county? We were supposed to pay county taxes. money?
No,
What
still we
happened?
all county.
We still owe county.
Yes. Approximately about $199,000 something. $199,000 something. Still we owe them. They have been asking me, calling me again times, but they have been telling them that's going to be coming.
Trustee Burns?
Yes, I got a couple of questions. First of all, we're looking, is it a 0.8%? 0.8% raise, which would be approximately, you have it down there, $79,808, correct?
Correct. 79,000. In total, it approximates to about 4%. In total, it approximates to about 4% because I'm asking extra, in addition to 8.8%, I'm asking in the corporate line item, I'm asking about $63,843.
Right, that's what I was going to ask. Now, can you explain what does corporate entail?
Corporate taxes that is used for administrative purposes, administration salary and elected officials salary, plus a portion of building and grounds salary, portion of community development salary, and a portion of police. I'm sorry, not police, community development administration and elected officials salary, plus benefits.
Okay, because I don't know, I'm not aware of elected official salary going up this year.
Yeah,
But, you know, I know what you're putting it in for administration. And I know we did have a add-on to the administration, so you're doing this to cover the hiring?
the hiring, it is for professional services that we are incurring for legal fees and other similar expenditures.
Because I was just looking at how big of a jump we asked for. That's the most increased. I mean, I can see pensions and fire, police protection, insurance.
All are 0.8.
I think we're gonna be a little lower in liability insurance.
That much we can get.
I know, I'm just saying that's gonna be a little low. But I mean, I'm just looking at the jump and why, and my other question, I don't know if you know it offhand, but are we paying anything from the budget to the crossing guards?
Yes, we are paying approximately about $6,000.
Okay.
But I am unable to put it because this levy is based on last year. Because last year we didn't levy anything. We cannot levy this year. So that's the reason
Oh, so now, well, if that's the case, if you didn't levy last year, you can't levy this year, then you won't be able to levy next year.
definitely not.
At some point, I think
It's
we
about
need to.
$6,000.
Right, but I mean,
That's why I'm making up in corporate. So that's why I have put $63,000 in there.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if we need to add, which I think we need to add something to the crossing guard, that little money there, we talked about, I thought it was 10,000, but you said it's 6,000.
Correct.
So that one time it was 10, I guess it must have been knocked down on this last budget from 10 to 6.
Correct.
Okay, because
But
now it's,
because it was not taken up in 2013, we didn't levy.
right, that's what
So
I'm
that's
saying.
the reason we cannot levy intermittently. It should be continuous. If
That's
you want to
what-
levy the taxes, it should be
At
continuous.
some point in time, we have to find a way to incorporate that, because for that to stay that way for the last 3 years, and everything else is going up.
Because now it was not levied in 2013. Therefore, I decided.
So how do we
I'll
incorporate that?
have to check with the county once again.
And my next question, do you know when the bond levy will take effect? The money, that 600 some thousand, is that going to?
It will be automatic. It is a bonded indenture. That means when we file the tax levy for the first time for the bonds, it's automatic until the expiration of the bond. They automatically.
So this will be in our, this will be added into our,
added into our tax levy.
okay, so therefore it will be more than, okay, so.
Yes, it will be
Okay.
more than that, because I cannot add it in this line item, because it's automatic.
Right, it is, because we don't have the money, then we have to, they make us do it.
Yes.
I just wanted to know about when, and that was,
Yeah, it is automatic.
you don't know, but you have no idea. I think it's due in May, so I don't know.
It is, normally one is due in July.
Right, I mean, it's been May, then it'll be the second.
The building payment is due in December 1st. So
Does that,
by the time, yeah,
because I want to know when, because usually when you had your first and second,
Yes.
your first tax bill comes, that's your highest.
March, April.
That's the highest one for a homeowner, and then the second one is lower. But now, if we're gonna have this levy on that, then they'll probably be just the same. And I'm just saying that for people that pay their taxes through their mortgage and have escrow, then your escrow is gonna still go up because it's not gonna be a break. So I'm just looking at how much, you know, me, myself, how much I know what I pay in taxes, and I'm just looking at the increase.
It's approximately that 690. It's approximately about 445,000. We're going to get it in the first installment.
And my last question, Mohan, who comes up with is that you that made the determination of how much each one of the things that we're going to levy, how much each person gets? In other words, each one of these.
The line items?
Yes.
No, this is a standard formula we could County relies on. The increase, we can do whatever we want, provided that it is within the PPL, that means property tax extension limitation law, wherein we cannot levy more than 0.8%.
Right. I
If
understand
it
that.
is so, if it is either the increase in cost of living index, that is 0.8%, or 5%, whichever is less. But in this case, because we can levy more than 235,000, I decided to levy a little bit more.
Right. I mean,
That's putting forth.
No, but the question I had was, who makes the determination which one of these line items get the most money, or the breakup? Like you said, corporate, how do you know it's got 63,000 and another one's got increases also? Who makes that?
Because there is a limitation on the tax levy in the tax levy law. For example, police and fire, we can levy 0.6% each at the maximum. There's a maximum limit where you can levy the taxes. For example, ambulance, you cannot levy more than 0.2%. It may be a little higher. than-
So corporate, I guess corporate gets the biggest increase.
Yeah, that is
They
the
get the
stipulation.
Okay.
I can get you that stipulation wherein it states only you can levy this much percent. There are 104 categories wherein these falls in all probably about 6-7 items that is listed in the county tax levy law. I can share that information with you maybe tomorrow.
And do you have,
Therein it stipulates all the limitations on the tax levy percentages.
and, do you have any idea what our EAV, did it go down this year?
EAV so far it is, as of, this EAV is based on 2014 tax year. I doubt there is a reduction in EAV, I'm not sure. This
The reason why-
2015 EAV will not be available until after next year. Maybe next year, March, April, it should be available.
But now, did our taxing base go down from a year? In other words, that's what I was-
Last year it was more.
It was, we
This
had
year
more
it's
paying
less.
taxes, so we have to make up the difference. And that's what I wanted you to explain,
Yes.
that we have to make up the difference. That last year we had more taxing people pay, so this year we don't have as many, so therefore we have to make a difference. That's what I was.
Correct, because For example, last year EAV was $100,000. This year EAV is $90,000. But still, we are going to tax levy based on the last year's tax levy. That means, however low is EAV, still we need to get our share of increase in taxes, that is the cost of living index increase, that is 0.8%. We need to get that 0.8%. More than 0.8% we cannot get. Subject, there is one more exception, that is 63,000 what I have requested for the levy, because last year we didn't levy police and fire, even though we levied more, we didn't get because of the limitation. It limited to 0.6% on both police as well as fire protection tax levy. That's why it reduced to 410,000, even though we did request 465,000 each last year. But the county reduced it to 410,000.
Anyone else? Questions? Trustee Davis.
I'm looking at the fire and police pension,
Mm.
and at the bottom, the figures are in parentheses. Does that mean there's a deficit?
No, it's not deficit. It is taken out of this total figure because those two funds go directly to the police pension fund and fire pension fund. The money will not flow into our corporate account. That's why I have reduced it to show that we are going to get only $2,088,624.
Okay, are we current in both those pension funds?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay. Is there a plan in place?
I have suggested the plan to the mayor.
So we're looking at the plan. We're not the only, we're along with thousands and probably communities within the state of Illinois. We're behind on their pensions. There's just probably about a handful that might be, in there, in that position. Those are usually your areas. You have your large malls, I think Portland. I think they might be good. Some of these other larger communities. The problems we have right now currently is, number one, we're a non-home rule community, where home rule communities can pass higher taxes upon the residents to help pay for those pensions. This pension issue is something that was passed back in like 1968 or something like that. That was passed down in Springfield and put upon communities. It was an unfunded mandate. And if you listen to the news lately, the city of Chicago is behind by about how many billion? And they just put a large tax increase upon the residents in the city of Chicago, their home rule community. I know Springfield, they're not willing to put a rollback on the pension reform or anything right now, but they are looking currently, last I heard, to allow communities right now, a community of 25,000 residents or more can become home rule. They're automatically home rule. They're looking at reducing that number down to 5,000 residents to be able to help smaller communities to be able to address this issue. That's one of the things that they're talking about. So that like a small community like Sauk could end up becoming home rule. That's one thing I've heard. The other thing is, as through mayors and managers, we've asked them to look at pension reform. And I know that's one of the top things that's under IML that they're addressing, mayors and managers is addressing, and we're putting a lot of pressure on our state representatives to come back and show, what's your municipalities, like Sauk Village or non-home rule, how do we address this pension issue? The other thing too is you hear the governor talk about allowing communities to go file bankruptcy. That's one of the things that the governor is really pushing. That's one reason why, in my opinion, they're not doing anything about pension reform. They're pretty much putting communities into that position. There was one other thing that they were talking about in Springfield, and I can't remember exactly what it was. It'll probably come to mind. I'll probably remember it later. So, this is a discussion down in Springfield. This is a discussion among all municipalities across the state of Illinois about this. I think the last thing was the governor tried to roll back all unfunded mandates, which both the House and Senate shot down immediately. So that's another thing that the governor tried to push through. And there was one other thing about it. The other thing too is as you hear in the news, the governor's got a task force which is being ran by Lieutenant Governor. I can't remember how to say her last name. I think it starts with an S. But yeah, I can't remember. I can see her and everything. I can't remember her last name. She is running the task force. They're looking at all unfunded mandates, and one of those unfunded mandates is the pensions. So it's one of the things we've been watching. It's one of the things that we know that as a community, we're paying into it, but we're not paying enough.
Approximately about 90% of the municipalities have not funded the pensions.
Right.
My concern with Sauk Village, talking to
I understand what that's all.
It's a major issue in Illinois. And it's not time you'll go to a mayor's and manager's meeting or you go talk to someone in IML that they don't discuss the pensions.
Since we're on pension, is there a time period where we have to fully make this right?
It is 2016 according to
But 2016 and the
the
bill is pretty, you have to be a lawyer to understand the bill. It's where the pension boards have the right to take a certain percentage of the revenue coming to the village and putting it towards what they feel that they're short, but it's only a percentage of that. So, I don't know exactly what's going to happen as of right now because there's a lot of talk about what would happen to communities if these pension boards do this. Because right off the bat, it's cutting services because municipalities won't have the funds to provide the services if some of these pension boards do what they're talking about doing. Any other questions? All right,
Thank
we
you.
have the agenda next Tuesday. Yeah, we'll have it in the business. No problem. All right. Move to, so just so we all know, so it'll be under new business, but if it doesn't pass, there is no tax levy. So I just make it very clear. I mean, you said a question, it's the one in under new business, new business. So. All right, item number 4, discussion covering committee meetings and the use of village facilities, including senior center, community center, and village board meeting room, or village clerk. Sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'll get you first. Village clerk was supposed to pass out policies. Did you get that? All right. So
We can't hear.
all right, so trustee Williams.
I was looking at the policies, and one of the things kind of overall, instead of getting individually into the policies, one of the things I wanted to discuss was, I know that we talked about it at the last board meeting, and the attorney stated that the village should be more involved in the actual creation of the policies, which I agree with, because whether they're in the senior center or we're in the community center, those individual committees do not have liability insurance, it's a village liability insurance. So if something were to happen, it's the village's insurance that would be responsible for the, whatever's gonna happen. Somebody slips and falls, somebody burns their hand on the stove or whatever. So I think that I'm happy to see that this is on the agenda and kind of go over a couple of things. Also, I did attend the last senior meeting, and one of the things that I suggested to them is currently when somebody rents out the senior center, they, the seniors approve it and they keep track of the calendar, but that's it. The money comes to the village hall, the money is deposited in the general fund. And per finance director, when the community center is rented out, that happens too. It goes to the general fund. From my understanding, neither committee gets any portion of that money. And I think that a nominal percentage, of a 10% portion, should go back to the individual committees. They are the ones that are maintaining the calendars, they are the ones that are making sure that the deposits can be released. So I think 10% of the event funds should go back to the committee. Also, looking at the, specifically the community center key rental, I don't see anything in the senior center committee, the key rental about it, but I have concerns about, I know we used to have it at the police department, and that's no longer an option, and I see that there's a lockbox, but I have a couple of questions about the lockbox, but I think I mentioned at the last meeting, I think that each of the committees have multiple committee members. I think that one of the things that we should look at is having the committee members be responsible to meet the people for the event at whatever the scheduled time is before the event, do a walkthrough at that time. If there's a broken tile, if there's a broken light, then they would, both the committee member and the person renting the center would be able to say, we agree this light was broken before we had this event. And then afterwards, a different, same committee member, different committee member, whoever, would be responsible to lock up the place. That would alleviate the need to have lock boxes, that would not have people have too many keys running around, and that would also let us know that if somebody rented the center for 4 hours, that they were there for 4 hours, not that they were there for 5 or 7 or 10, and we're not getting the funds for those hours. And then I know that we're just talking about senior center and community center, but I'd like to talk about this room as well. And one of the things that I would like to see put in place, and I don't know if this is something that we have to set up for a policy, or if this is something that is ordinance or anything like that, but I would like to only see this room be used for board and committee meetings only. That's what its purpose was. I think every other time, it does not need to be open. If we're having a forum like we did for the water, when there was a huge situation there, and we had presenters and things like that, understandable. We have public forums, fine, that's what this room was for. But I don't think that any other meeting should be held. No individual meetings from the trustee, from the mayor, from department heads, from anybody. This room should be used for that purpose only. Any other meeting to be had can be at the community center, it can be at the senior center, it can be in any other forum. I don't think that this room needs to be open. I think that when we do that, we, again, open up ourselves for liability. There's a lot of times during board meetings, when we're all sitting in this room, that people are walking all throughout the back where our mailboxes are. They are walking down where the copy machine is. And I know that this happened during public forums and everything else, and I just don't think it's necessary. Again, these are my opinions, and I think that any event that's held in either the community center or the senior center should be held at a cost. If the Parks and Rec Committee is meeting in this public or community center, obviously their village board or village committee, they should have to pay. But if there's any other organization that's meeting, they should have to pay, even if it's not a fee. Same thing with the senior center. If the senior committee is meeting, there should not be a payment. But if there's any other meeting event happening, I think that there should be a payment. There needs to be a better system, not just opening up the doors. I think that the village as a whole needs to keep better track, because from what I understand, both of these buildings are being overutilized, and the village is not aware of it.
Pass the audience, please. This is the board meeting here. You have the opportunity to stay out there and watch. You have the opportunity at the end to come up and ask questions. All right? So keep your comments to yourself, and step underneath your breath, please. Thank you.
Well, I have one concern about the senior committee. There's no trustee, there's no board member, this is a resident making policy. I don't think that should be,
Sir, we're in the middle of a board meeting. Please sit down.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
I think that leaves a little bias on certain situations. Someone should be over the senior center for that reason, because there's money coming in. There's rental of property that's paid by taxpayers. And for a resident to be in charge of that, I don't think that's a good idea. But far as renting out or utilizing any of the facilities without a fee, the taxpayer, they pay taxes to use these facilities. It would help to bridge the community for certain certain groups that could utilize, that's going to bring a benefit to the community. Like as I put in mind that if they would have a mission statement, if that mission statement meets the requirements that is going to benefit the community, I think with the vote of the committee, that either look into waiving a fee, depending on how much feedback will be brought to the community, and also, as I put on there will always be a deposit. So if there is any damage, if there's a lost key, supplies or whatever, misuse of, the deposit will be lost, and they will have to reissue the deposit, or come back to the committee and say they can't use the facility any longer. But to say that organizations that are doing something good for the community don't have an outlet to bring things to the community, I don't think we should just shut the door completely to that. And well, I know you said you had other questions about the lot box or anything. I guess we'll get to that point. That's all I have to say.
Trustee Davis.
My question goes back to use of this room. I utilize this room for the two committees that I serve on. One is the housing committee, and the other is the intergovernmental committee. And to say that it should not be open, I think defeats the purpose, especially when I hear the comment that the security of people going in the back and by the inboxes and all that good stuff. If they're in here, they don't have access to walk up and down the halls and sit at the desk and make phone calls. That's why I like to have it in here and not in the back, in the conference room or one of the other locations, because you control the population if they're in here. Now, if you start saying you don't want them in here and you want to use that area, there's no way, and I don't care if you have 12 trustees, if you're going to watch male and female washrooms, that you're going to watch the conference rooms, that you're going to watch the 6 desk trustee centers, there's no way you're going to do it. So you put them in a consolidated area where you control their movement. And I think that omits the problem of one in the hallways.
To speak on that though, even during board meetings, I've seen non-elected officials walking in the back. And no meetings during any time that this has been utilized, and if this was utilized. And I can understand your point, if during, when you have your meetings, I don't know, if you close this door, and if someone were to use the bathroom, if you have the bathrooms open in the hallway, because I'm not sure when your meetings are, but to my knowledge, they lock those bathrooms up when they lock the board meeting, the building. So if you have your meeting at a time where there is not a, when the village hall is not open and those bathrooms are closed, if your committee members.
The bathrooms along the back of the window are always open. Across from the window, they're always open.
By the senior center,
Right.
but not these over here. So, again, do you watch, if there's someone in your committee needs to go to the bathroom, do you take note of that?
That has not occurred, that someone had to use the restroom while during the meetings that I have, so I don't know. I can't answer, you know, will I give them a cup, or what would happen? I'm just saying that for me, and I didn't speak for anyone else, for me, it works having them in a controlled environment where they're not roaming the hallways. And you want to shut that down, and I just think it's wrong.
I'm one
For me.
person, one opinion. I think that this particular room is overutilized. I think that this was set up as a board meeting room, and that's how it should say. There's an executive session room that if you wanted to do a bathroom right there, and this door could be closed. There are other conference rooms, as you stated. I think that for committee meetings, I don't have them in this room, but that's just my personal preference. I have them in the conference room. But I'm talking about larger than that. I'm talking about, I know that there has been several larger meetings that happen in this room. And while I don't attend the town hall meetings or the meetings, I don't attend either one of them, I don't think they should happen in this room. There are too many situations that I think have occurred because of it, so I think that they just, again, in my personal opinion, that it needs to be stopped. This room is not necessarily supposed to be used for policy meetings, and from what I'm hearing, that's what's happening. So it just, in my opinion, it needs to stop. There are plenty of other avenues, locations, ways to have meetings. I'm not saying that meetings should stop. I'm saying it shouldn't happen.
But wait a minute, I'm confused. You say it's overutilized, and then you say politics. So what is the real issue?
Both.
Overutilized, what do you mean by overutilized?
In my opinion, this room is supposed to be used for committee meetings and board meetings, and special meetings. Meetings where minutes are taken. That's what this meeting is, that's what this room is for. So if it's used for anything other than that, it's being overutilized. Second comment that we, from what I've heard from residents, because again, I will say, I don't go to either the mayor or the town hall meetings. From what I've heard, there is a lot of policy going on. That should not happen in this building. It should not happen specifically in this room. And if that's what's happening, if that's what you're saying is what's happening, then it needs to be stopped in this room. Everyone, across this, and that's not charity, that's across the state. Nobody uses this room unless it's an official board meeting where minutes are being taken, because that's the purpose of the meeting. Unless, again, we have a public forum where there's a water situation, or there's a health crisis, or something to the point where we would have to host a meeting, we would have to invite people, all elected officials would be invited, and we might have a guest speaker or something like that.
But what you're saying is what happens. So I'm still confused.
What I'm saying.
Minutes are taken at my meeting. Both of them. They're posted. So I'm not sure.
Your meeting is a committee meeting.
Yes.
I said
And the public is there.
And I said that this room should be used for board and committee meetings.
No, I heard that.
Right, so your meeting is a committee meeting. While I choose not to have my committee meetings in this room, and I would encourage other trustees to have them in the, like conference rooms, if you're saying your committee meeting is happening here, then that's what I said. It should be for board meetings and committee meetings. What I don't think should happen here is the town hall meetings will be their meetings. That's what I'm saying. To my knowledge, the minutes are not
but here's the thing, where, if we have, and I don't know how many people attend either of the meetings that you mentioned, meet the mayor or the town hall, I have no idea. But let's say if you have 30 individuals who attend each of those meetings, and you're going to put them in the conference room?
No, I think that those meetings are held by individuals, while they're both elected officials, they're held by individuals who are wanting to take the opportunity to meet with the public. I think it should be their responsibility to find a place. If they want to have a community center, and that's within the policy of the community center, I think, rent it out. I know that the mayor's had, meet the mayor in the park, something donuts. Any other location, I know that Trustee Burgess has had his town meetings at Rickover. In my opinion, it is not need to happen in this room. This room is for business purposes only. And for, again, I've never been to either of the meetings, but from what I understand, business is not the only thing that's being done at the meeting. So, I don't think that we should have it. But again, I'm one trustee. I don't hold those meetings, and I don't attend them. But it is my opinion that they should have it in this room.
Thank you.
I think you- Can I sit down, Trustee Merritt?
First of all, Trustee Williams, I have a couple of questions. You said you don't attend the meetings, but you heard from someone else. Maybe you should come and make your own opinion yourself. Maybe you should come to the meetings and kind of hear what's going on rather than take it from hearsay. That's the first thing. Second thing, Mr. Mayor, we're talking about, we're going back and forth talking about this. Is this something that you're considering making policy? Is this what you're trying to do, ask questions so you can come back with a policy for this? Or is this just a back and forth we're discussing this?
Well, I've had the village clerk, I'll tell you what, hang on. Wait, I want to see what Trustee Myers has, because I'm going to answer a question. You want to go ahead and answer this part? Okay. I've had the village clerk go back, was it 8, 12 years in looking at minutes, and found, in fact, Trustee Burgess, we put a policy in place for the village back in 2008 for the use of the community center. Talking about a $1 million insurance policy. There's a whole entire policy that you brought before the board. And again, you know, there's been discussion going back and forth. Does the board vote on policies under committees? The answer is no, and I was right about that. There's only been one time that a policy has been brought to the board, and that was the rental of the community center. And that was brought in 2008 by Trustee Burgess. And that ended up being a village policy, not a Parks and Recs policy, because it was voted on by the board. And even in the minutes, even at that time, it was Mayor Peckham. Mayor Peckham's talked about how committees, they do not have to go before the village board to get their policies approved, and it's part of the minutes. It is a courtesy that committees come before boards to talk about their policies. Back in 2008, there was an issue back when you were chair, and you wanted the board to step in and make a policy. So there is a policy for renting the community center that was passed back in 2008. And, you know, I think there's been a lot of things talked about. I know I heard something about the seniors and how it's a committee of residents. You know, it is a committee of residents. There's other committees that are made up of residents. There's commissions that are made up of residents. When it comes to the senior center, the money crosses the hands of residents. With the senior center, they have to go to the front desk. They submit an application. All money that's transferred goes through Sherry or Cindy or Mike, who's ever sitting at the front desk. And the senior center, their responsibility is to make sure that the senior center looks a certain way. They go back in, the committee checks the senior center afterwards. They come back and they tell whoever's at the front desk, whoever rented the facility, if it was left in the same position it was in, they can return the deposit. That's the way the community center is supposed to be ran also. That if there's any renting out, it's supposed to be going to the front desk. And again, if you go back to the minutes, you find out there was questions about how community centers being rented out back under another trustee by the name of trustee Benson. And the board forced the issue about that trustee making sure that everything goes to the front window. So when you look at the policy is already in place. Now you know we have some new trustees. So I guess we're going to get that policy back out and probably show for the policy. You know, the trustee, when you talk about village resident, you're a village resident too. So no money crosses your hands, just like no money crosses the senior center's committee's hands. Everything goes to the very front, window. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way the policy is set up. If there's a rental or a use of the facility, they're supposed to be filling out an application. The application should be submitted to the front desk. The front desk should be contacting whoever is the chair of that committee to find out by the calendar. You know, like at senior center, they provide a calendar, so they already know. If someone comes that wants to rent the senior center, they can look on the calendar and say if it's available or not. Same thing is supposed to be happening with the community center. Okay. But if you don't have your calendar in there, they contact and say, we have someone here who wants to rent the community center. We'll use that for example. On a certain date, is it available, yes or no? You tell them yes or no. They can say, okay, here's your deposit. How long are you going to be renting it? There's a fee structure. They say, okay, here's how much it's going to cost you. So that is what's supposed to happen. If anyone uses any of the facilities, that is what is supposed to be happening. And it's the board, again, under trustee Burgess' advice, passed the policy as a village policy. It was so that one person or one committee could not have the power to tell someone that they couldn't use it, or to be able to come through with, if you want to say, their own political ambitions and have their own parties, political parties and stuff like that inside inside those meeting rooms. So what we'll do is we need to pull a policy. It was passed in 2008. It was first brought before the board by trustee Burgess March 18th. It goes in April. Looks like April. March is reserved discussion. I mean, here's March. It says the mayor reminded the board that a vote is not required, but it's a good practice to review all policies with board members. This is talking about committees. Committees have the right to pass, to go through their own policies. If you want to call them policies, if you want to call it, rules. I mean, everyone has different names, but again, the committees said what they had in place. When it came up for a vote, it looks like it came up for a vote probably, and the approval of it. Let's see, there's 7. I don't have the front page. I just got the back page. April 22nd, 2008. It was under item 7A, approval for the Edward W. Pazel Center rental reservation policy. It was passed by everyone except for trustee Williams. So we had trustee Anderson. I saw her, didn't she sit right there? She approved it. Trustee Burgess, he's on the board still. I'm on the board. I approved trustee Schultz and trustee Solakowski. So that was, what I say, April 22nd, 2008. And again, even when it was passed, the mayor, who was Mayor Peckham at the time, said that it was approval for purposes only. That it was a policy, it's not an ordinance. So the board passed the policy for the village for when it comes to the rental, especially the community center. It really oversees it. I remember back then we only had one side of it at that time. We only had the gymnasium. And at the time we were looking at coming in, having this building built, if I remember right, or if we were getting ready to come into this building, and there was discussion about how this policy would be expanded. If you read through all the minutes, it would be expanded to both sides of the facility on the community center. Trustee Burgess was the one that made all those discussions. So,
But Mayor, you didn't answer my question. My question was, what we're talking and discussing now, as far as the use of this room and anything else, is this what you're trying to, is it going to be a policy made about who utilizes this room? If so, I just want to ask Trustee Williams, since she did bring it up, who pays for this room?
citizens.
I mean, because if they utilize it or don't utilize it, we just got to levying $2.3 million for whatever, and part of that was corporate.
Hang on for a second. Audience, I'm going to ask you please again. This is the second time. Keep your comments to yourself. All right.
This was corporate money. And to say that this room shouldn't be used for the residents, and as far as politicking, you can be interpreted as anything. But to tell the residents and the taxpayers of this village, because not only do they use it, and I use it for a town hall meeting, also other people utilize it. They have over in Deer Creek utilized this room, been utilizing it before this building was built. We used to go to the other side. So you're telling them they cannot come out and have their homeowners association meeting here. This room is provided and it's paid for by the taxpayers. When I do have my meetings here, if I'm involved in this, no one goes past that door. And as Trustee Tate said, you know, even with my committee meetings that I have in the back, I was told they had to be open to everybody. In other words, I had to leave the door open. So they come down the hallway. I don't know who's coming and going where until they get to the committee room. And I just thought about that. It makes sense. If you have it here, you can see people come in and out. But they go down that hallway, they can stop anywhere before they get to that committee room or utilize that bathroom. Because that's where I've had my committee meetings ever since I've had committees is in that room. But here in this room, I do know for a fact no one goes in the back. When I'm in charge. When I'm in charge of this room, no one goes in the back. But I do have a problem with saying that no one can meet in this room other than just board meetings and voting. People come up to the meetings because they want to hear information, and they're entitled, they pay taxes. These are your residents. To tell your residents that you have to meet somewhere else, you know, that's another thing. The reason why, and I want to make this clear, that it was stopped at the District 168, because the superintendent was told to have it stopped. I don't know, some people called and said, why is he having meetings over there? Even though they pay taxes over there too, she was pressured into not having, she asked me, could I have it somewhere else? I said, fine, no problem. And that's why I came here to the village hall, which I thought I should be here anyway because it is the village. I'm a trustee. And as long as I am a trustee and I have keys and a swipe card, now if you want to lock me out of here, fine. But I will continue, as I said, the very first meeting I had here. I will continue to have these meetings for the people. And if you think that it's politicking coming or going on, come to the meeting. Listen to what they have to say. Yes, people have a lot to say about each and every one of us. That's what we're here for. We are public officials. They will talk about us. So to have to say we're going to shut that down, what do you shut the people down from talking? Now, I don't like personalities. I don't like people to call people out personally. And if that happens, I do shut that down. As happened last meeting, I will shut it down. But to say that we should not have meetings here for the people, this is for the people. We have board meetings, we're here discussing this. Yes, people get up and go to the back, and you're right, I have not seen anybody run back there and say, where are you going? Heard people say that the reason why they're going back here because the bathrooms right out here were closed. And that's why they went. But that was it. That means we need to take care of when we have our meetings here, especially our board meetings and our committee meetings, make sure those bathrooms are open. So that's why I was asking you, Mayor, are you trying to write up a policy that will inhibit any meetings in this room other than board and committee meetings? That's why I asked that question. And if you are, I need to know that. Outside of that, I mean, we're just having a discussion. And as far as back in 2008, yes, back then, anything that I felt that had to do with the village, yes, I wanted the board to know. I wanted the board to know what we were trying to do, and that's why I brought it up and brought it out that the board needs to be involved. The reason for the insurance is liability. Someone gets hurt, yes. If they want to rent the place out and play basketball, they need to show me $1 million policy, yes. That was brought up and discussed with the board at the time. But I'm asking these committee meeting policies that are being brought up now, you're saying, and I'm asking you, are you saying that any committee, be it whatever, can bring a policy and the village officials that are elected officials have to go along with that because they, in other words, they have no say-so and they don't have, the particular committees don't have to ask the village officials, can we bring this policy? So if they make a policy and enact a policy, we have no input as far as village elected officials.
Hey, you bring a point, and again, looking through the minutes, we went back to 2008 or the year before. You know, committee meetings, or committees have always had the opportunity to put out their policies. Now, committees have also, as a courtesy, come before the village board and said, here's some of the policies that we put in place. I mean, if you go back to when Mary Siri was here, Trustee Siri, she came before the board and she totally, completely rewrote the whole entire Parks and Recs before you took over Parks and Recs. She came before the village board and said, as a courtesy, I want to show you all the changes that we're making, okay? The board didn't vote on those policies. Now, can a committee pass a policy that supersedes the village? No. It's just like a village, Sauk Village cannot pass an ordinance that supersedes the state. You know, you've got your hierarchy, and, you know, it's, you know, we always tell everyone, you've got your village level, your town level, you've got your county level, you've got your state level, you've got your federal level, okay? Underneath the village level, you've got your commissions and your committees. So, you know, your question is, can committees, you know, pass policies? That's why we don't have just one individual on a committee. That's why there's a board where there's 5 or 6 other people sitting on that committee, just like we have a board sitting here when we pass ordinances and resolutions. There's 6 other people voting on something. So that's why you have committees with boards and stuff like that. So again, going back, and we went back quite a few years, there's only one policy that has ever been brought before the village board. You brought it, and you asked the village board to make it a policy, as a village policy, not as a Parks and Recs policy. You asked for it to be a village policy for it to be voted on.
Is it or is it not true that the senior center is part of the village?
Senior center is part of it.
Okay,
Just like the
so,
community center.
yes, it's just like the community center. So wouldn't it make sense that if they pass a policy that's part of the village, that the village board should at least be involved in that? If they're going to pass a policy that states that how they run the senior center, which is owned by the village, which is paid for by the taxpayers, aren't we put in place as elected officials to oversee that, to make sure that whatever they're passing is conducive to whatever, you know, in other words, we should not say we have input, but we should at least be part of this before it's passed, to look at it, to make sure that it is conducive, to have our lawyers look at it and make sure that it's right before they pass this policy. Because if it's wrong, if they have something in that policy that we don't see or we haven't seen, and then we get sued, then first thing we know, but deniability. Deniability is not plausible at that time because it was part of that policy. I think that we should at least be able to look at anything that has to do with this village. That's why we were put here. You as the mayor, we as trustees were put here to oversee. And if you're going to have a committee that is using a facility or a board of a committee that utilizes a facility that's paid for by the taxpayers, I think, as Trustee Jones said, you should have someone there or have something in place other than a resident, or at least have the board look at it to make sure whatever there is that they're trying to pass, is conducive to this board a discussion about it, if no more than look at it and review it before it is enacted.
You know, Trustee, I think what you're saying probably sounds good, but it's not.
Why?
Trustee, sitting around this table, there's 6 committees, right? 6 committees. Every trustee's got a committee. Every one of these committees sitting around this table has policies, where you have mission statements. You have other things in your committees that you put together. Each one of your committees probably have, of course, we know 2 trustees sit on the standing committee. And every committee other than that has probably anywhere from 5 to 6 people sitting on your committee. How many do you have on your Parks and Recs? Okay, so you got 7. I mean, I've got more on the table. Parks and Recs is easy because it's on here right now, okay? Every one of these committees have got committees that passes their policies. I go around this table and ask, has any trustee brought their policies to this board? And the answer is going to be no, because you haven't. So, and as a courtesy, and not as something to hold on. Trustee Williams talks about all the time, the policy for the Sauk talk is to send your articles in electronically, right? There's now, one time this village board, I've been on it for quite a long time, and we voted on that policy and say, yes, we have to send our Sauk talks in electronically, okay? You have committees that pass policies, again, their policies cannot supersede the village, and, you know, again, I'm looking back in 2008, when a mayor prior to me that I sat under said, this is something that does not need to happen, that needs to happen. That even then, knowing committees pass policies, okay? Now, is there things that the village is going to oversee? Yes. And this is one of the questions is tonight, I want to make sure we're very clear. Rental of anything, any building, we need to go back to the original policy. It's got to go through that front desk. Okay? Committees need to have a calendar in by, I want to say Sherry and Cindy and Mike and all of them. There needs to be a calendar for the month. And that used to always be a thing. You always had to have your calendars in there. Applications can be available through the committees. Someone comes up and says, hey, I want to rent the community center, I want to rent the senior center. You can pass out those applications and say, take the applications and go fill it out and go see the ladies at the front desk. No, can't say ladies because Mike's out there. Go see someone at the front desk. All money for renting facilities goes to the front desk. Committee's responsibility is to go back through after it's been rented to make sure that the building, the facility has been cleaned, it's back to where it's supposed to be, and letting the front desk know if the individual that rented the building can get their deposit back. Now, you've asked a question about this area right here, okay? It's not the first time I've heard that both meetings are political, okay? Again, we're going to say what we're going to say, but, I've had other mayors, talk to other mayors, and I've asked what they do in their committee, because I've had other mayors say, you guys get a little political over there, right? The communities, surrounding communities hear things, and I'm sure they've probably seen things on social media also, okay? I've had mayors say, you guys get a little political over there, aren't you? And, I've asked other mayors, I said, well, what do you guys do about your meeting room, okay? Every mayor in the surrounding area has told me, this is off limits. They say, this is an area that you have village board meetings, you have special events. If you're going to have, they talked with me about town hall meetings. Town hall meetings are something that involves your whole entire board. You get to a point where it gets very touchy. And I think the trustees bring up a good point because, we're getting ready to go into an election here. One of the questions goes, the mayor's using this room, I got a trustee that's using this room, if they're both running for mayor, why can't someone else who's running for mayor? I didn't say that, I'm just saying the question's coming up. The question is coming up, what happens if someone else decides they're running for mayor, why can't they come and have a town hall meeting also? So, I've heard other mayors, and I think probably every mayor I've talked to Mayor Williams, I've talked to Mayor Martin over in Olympia Fields, I talked to David Gonzalez, there's a couple other mayors that I've talked to, Jay over there in Moline, Rick Reinholm from Richmond Park. This area we call where the dais is off limits only for meetings, village board meetings, and special events. So, when the trustee brought it up tonight, I don't have a problem saying, I'll no longer have any mayors in here. If we gotta do somewhere else, I have no problem with that. Because if she's hearing complaints, and then if I've got mayors from other communities hearing complaints, and again, the trustee brought up 2 meetings. It's the same 2 meetings I hear mayors across the community, across the other communities are talking about the same thing. So, I think maybe we should really consider that, for this room here should be only used for board meetings, special events. I think we've got a special event coming up for the village residents, right? That's a special event. That is the carols and cocoa and things like that. And then they have a reading of stuff for the kids, right? And passing out the gifts, things like that. That's going to happen, okay? You've got this Saturday, you've got Santa's coming to town. You're going to have an event over at the community center, right? So.
My question to you, Mayor, is this. You said that you're not going to have your meet the mayor. That's fine. I still want to have the town hall meetings because if you've been to them, and Trustee Williams said she hasn't been to them, but I've had other trustees say that they've been to them. It's an informational meeting that I have. They ask questions and they air out their problems. Yes, they do. So that was something that you may not want to have your meet the mayors, but I'm still going to have the town hall meeting here for the public, for the people that pay taxes here, people that live here in the village, because that's the time that they may be able to come out and ask questions for as long as they want to and don't have to be set down, shut up, or whatever the case may be. They get a chance to talk, and that's what that is for. That's why I started it in the first place, so people can sit and not only that, they get to network with their other residents to find out that they're not the only ones that have issues that are going on, and to find out about different problems that they have with trees, with lighting, with things like for public works. And I do write those down, and I do give a list to Kevin. So I understand, but I'm still holding fast that I'm still going to have my town hall meetings here because I think they are very, very constructive, and I think that they are very informative to the people. And yes, we've had incidents. We had incidents where people came in and disrupted the meeting. But as I said before, I shut that down. So if you feel that you don't want to have your meeting there, I'm sorry. But I will continue to have the town hall meeting there for the people. If you don't want to put it up on the bulletin board, please let me know now so I can understand. Because their bulletin board, just like this village meeting right here, is paid for by the citizens of Sauk Village.
And again, I can see that you've been able to put out your authority to say you're going to continue having them. So
That's my opinion. That's not my authority. I'm an elected official, man, just like you are.
Yeah, let you talk.
Okay, but you're saying my authority. Don't misquote me. I said that I'm an elected official, just like you are, Mayor. And if I feel that the people need an avenue to talk, what are they going to have? I'm going to have it at in the street, at Popeyes, Hometown Hero, Fairway. No, I'm going to have it where they pay their taxes, where they pay for this lights and this heat to be put on. The taxpayers, as I just stated, we just got through levying, or just got through talking about levying X amount of money for the village. Why not spend a few dollars for the people to come and be able to talk?
Go back to what I was saying. I mean, you can push your authority and push it around that you're going to continue having something here, and you probably can until there's a policy in place. So, I guess when we look at the board, I know I see some hands showing that, if we have to look at a policy, if that's what the majority of the board wants, we'll put a policy in place that this room won't be used except for only board meetings and committee meetings, and I guess special events. I mean, I could be the same way as you, I could continue having my meetings here because, there's no policy in place. So, let me go over to trustee Washington first, and I'll shoot back to you. Oh, I do, hang on, I'm sorry, I still a trustee Myers. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Have a couple things for you, sir.
Okay.
All right, a few weeks ago, we had a pretty good discussion over, the board doing policy. And then we made a statement that, the board has never done, well, the board has done, as you, and then that. The board has done, excuse me? The board has, when Vincent had a problem, we had to come in and take care of that. We took care of the situation. John brought to the board on rent and everything, we had a problem with how much to charge stuff. He came back to the board and we discussed that, and made a recommendation to him. He wrote his own policy now. This policy, each one of the policies I see for me, there is a policy. But again, you said the board should get involved. Hypothetical. I belong on the committee. I'm a senior citizen, and everybody lives in town. I get a Friday night. I don't know if it's Friday night. Mom should say I get Friday night. I write my policy out. Well, the ABC group's going to meet here Friday night at 7 p.m. The ABC is going to have their meeting, and then after the meeting, we're going to go in and have a little bit of lounge time. We may smoke a cigar, we may play cards, or we may have pop up a bottle of wine or something like that. Well, the whole point of getting that, we don't know this. This is the committee that made it. And I hope they're providing and abiding by our rules. And so I haven't gone, truthfully, I haven't gone to any of the meetings, and I can if I want to. But there again, there's procedures here that we should look at. I went through all these policies. There's comments I have on each one of them. But there again, if the mayor decided that we're not going to have anything to say about the procedures that these committee writes up and goes by, can I ask you a question? What kind of Sam heck we're here tonight? The next thing is that I think personally that some of these, like the one for the park, I mean, the gentleman hit everything on it. And I went through it. That's all I asked that the board should look at. I don't think anybody can find anything wrong with the policy. But there again, everybody, as Bruce said, I'm sorry, as Trustee Williams said, everybody's own opinion. All right. And I do agree that this room should not be used as a party. All right. This room should be kept as the chambers where we have meetings and everything. However, Trustee Burke is 100% correct. The residents of this town, through their tax dollars, put this building here. So, therefore, if they need to, for some odd reason, special events, the congressman coming to town, something like that, I have no problem that the residents come to the board and ask, I had no congressman that likes to come and talk to the board. Is it all right? Sure. Who's going to turn down a congressman, right? We need every vote we can get. Oh, but there again, a lot of the stuff, and I don't know why, a lot of the stuff we need to run it through the board, where we agree with it or we don't agree with it. But there's a lot of stuff we don't know. Discrimination. I don't know if anyone discriminates over it. I mean, why? I mean, we should be. We're all human beings in this town. That's what I look at everybody. I don't look at color. There's another one. There's some mention that a lot of stuff is grandfather. I know I'm old, but I don't think I'm grandfather in a lot of the stuff, but I don't remember anything being grandfather. But there's another one that the gentleman spoke up, said that in one of theirs, he asked for a certain night and was gave that night. And then all of a sudden, that night was pulled away from him. Well, when you sign, do we have a book, or how do we know? We just have a committee that said that you're gonna meet on Monday or Tuesday night. And then all of a sudden, the committee that ruled over there, senior, I believe, I'm not mistaken on that, decide, no, you're gonna meet on Wednesday night, what do you like it or not? That's not fair. That's not fair. You can come in, you have a, they can come in and ask for a night, you can do it for a whole year. And if you have if you get sit down and with the trustees or with the mayor or with the village manager, that's the other thing that I've said 3 or 4 weeks ago. I asked, and I thought it was good, that the administrator got involved in it. And the people I talked to that actually sat down with them thought it was a fantastic plan they came up with. But yet, they're all to the wayside. And we need to get more involved, all right? And whether you want to put somebody there or not, or whether they just, we go and talk to them, or they come talk to us, or if they just hand their paper into us, what their guidelines are. At least we can say, I know you know this, we are responsible for every inch of this town and everything that's in this town. It's going to come back to us as trustees and mayor of this town if we allow them to go on. And trust me, well, I've saw a lot of lawsuits since I've been a trustee. They hold us accountable. Are we all accountable? You don't know. I believe there's twice, maybe three times, that you yourself, sir, have actually visited my meeting. I've had it. It's open. Every one of our meetings are open. For the mayor, manager, whoever wants to come in, I don't know. But we, as trustees, don't do that. We should go to each one of these committee meetings to find out what's about. And the use of this room, I see no problem why trustees can't use it. I see no problem why committee members can't use it. But we need to know what's going on in this room. Not just Friday night that, I'm just using the name now, everybody in the audience name is Samuel Jones, I apologize. He's going to come out, he wants to use the building, he wants to use the building. But but yeah, we did not know about it. I walked in this building many a days, and there's a meeting going on. Hey, Jerry, what's going on in the boardroom? I don't know. Hey, Cindy, do I know what's going on in the boardroom? I don't know. I even asked the manager the other day, what meeting they having in the boardroom? I'm not sure. We need to know what's going on in this boardroom. This is our building. This is the village, the Sauk Village building. We need to know what's going on. So we need some other guidelines. I don't want to call it policy, don't call it policy. We need something to go by, and that's all I'm asking. And thank you. Oh, there is one thing. Miss Washington was denied the use of this room. She wanted to have neighborhood watch. She was denied the use of this room. And I don't know if we know she's a trustee. So there again, if the lucky enough we was able to land the fire station, that's where I think that's where we'll stay at. We're happy there, and we're cleaning up and everything after meetings. That's it. The same thing can come here, as Ms. Williams suggested. After you have a meeting, clean up behind yourself. If you don't clean up behind yourself, you're going to get notified by the administrator that, hey, you caused a mess. You're on notice now that you don't use this building anymore. I know Trustee Jones does it, because when I had my doings over there, I had to go right behind them. We stand there, and then sure enough, there was somebody that came behind me to make sure that room was cleaned up. That was kind of talking about it. But he made sure it was clean. But there again, we just need something.
And again, I think we've gone away from the policy again. You asked why we're here tonight. Again, number one, we're here tonight because Trustee Williams asked for it to be placed on the agenda at the last board meeting, so that's one reason why we're here. Number two, I think that going after the last discussion we had about policies and stuff, finding out more information, I asked the village clerk to go through that quite a few years to go through village board meeting minutes and finding out, has the village board ever approved a policy and only finding one that going dating back to 2008 and then becoming a village policy, not a Parks and Recs policy. So, you ask about, you come in, you see people using this room, you don't know what they're doing, no one knows what they're doing. Again, getting away from the policy is, if you're going to use this room, you're supposed to be letting the girls at the front desk know. I'm using it this day, so there was never a problem of coming in and there's someone else using it or there's another event going on. I know, like, if ever I have something going here, I'm always telling them at the front desk, I've got this going on. We had, meetings going on with economic development for TIF area number 3. I told them they were using this room. There's been times where I planned on having meetings inside one of the conference rooms and find out it wasn't large enough and then coming out here because it was larger. So, again, it's getting, these policies back in place. And then we've got some new trustees. You figure 2008, I think the only two people around this board in 2008 that's still on this board is Trustee Burgess and myself. Oh, Trustee Williams, I'm sorry, was on the board too. So there's only 3 of us that's still sitting on this board. There's 4 people sitting here tonight that was not on the board in 2008. So getting these policies back out there so you understand, so there is no misunderstanding saying that someone else is having money cross their hands. There's no money crossing hands. No money should be crossing your hands. No money should be crossing any of your committee members' hands, just like on the seniors. There's no money that crosses those hands that goes to the front window. If someone wants to use the facility, they go to the front window. But the committee has first preference. If you're having a basketball event at the community center and someone wants to rent the community center basketball court, the answer is going to be, sorry, you're going to pick another day. Because the committee is already having an event. Okay? It goes for the same thing with seniors. If the seniors are having an event, they have their spaghetti dinners, their chili cook-offs. You can go through the year what they have. If they're having an event on a certain day and someone wants to rent the senior center, they'll have to pick another day. So, getting back to these policies, and why are we here tonight talking about it? Because the trustee asked for it to be called. Since the trustees asked for it, we went back and did a lot of research. Village Clerk did a lot of research because I asked her to. Going back and finding out, and we're going to have to pull this policy that was approved by the board and put it to you. But again, Trustee Myers held up the Parks and Recs policy, I think, right? It said they were pretty good. Well, if you look at those Parks and Recs policies, you'll find out they were I think first. Those are very serious. There's only been one change to it, and that was in 2008 when Trustee Burgess came to the board, and that policy was voted on through the board and became a village policy. So that goes on back to Mary Siri. Village policies we do, but it's not a Parks and Recs policy that the board approved. It was a policy for renting out the facilities as a village policy. So again, I understand everyone wants to be in control, maybe a little bit more control. You want to be able to have say. But you even mentioned it. How many trustees have ever attended a senior committee meeting and sat there the whole time? Without falling asleep. I'm sorry, Rosie. How many people have gone to some of these other committees? How many trustees have ever, you probably got a couple trustees come to your Parks and Recs. But, especially now because we've got 2 trustees sitting on the standing committees. But, for years, trustees didn't even go to committees. Like I said, I don't go to every committee. I'll pop my head in every so often at committee meetings, so what's going on. That's why you have a committee. The committee with members and make recommendations and what their committee is going to do. Again, I think what you're asking is, maybe, I made a statement a few months ago, you got what you asked for and lost what you had. If this board wants every single policy from every single committee to be approved by this village board, I think you better think about what you're asking for. And to think about your own committees. Maybe 4 of the trustees don't approve a policy that you're going to put in place. Because, they were saying what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we're going to say every committee has to do it, I've got 6 committees sitting around this table over here, not to mention all the other committees. So, Trustee Washington, you're next, I got her after you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, first of all, to piggyback off of what Trustee Myers was saying about the neighborhood watch, when we first formed the neighborhood watch, I was denied using this room. I was told I could not use the room, and I was a resident at that time. And of course, Trustee Myers, everybody knows the story because I tell it. He allowed me to be able to use the fire station. We've been there ever since. Also, as a resident, I started a committee called Sauk Village Citizens for Public, Sauk Village for Informative Dialogue. And that was a committee where I had people from different entities in the village. I had Nan from the library. I had the president of the school at that time, Sharon Davenport. I had Gary from housing. I had all the residents that had questions to be able to come and ask anything that they want to ask. And I just want to say that I feel so torn with this conversation tonight because I do hear a lot of hypocrisy in the room, and it's just a lot of double standards. And I'm trying to understand, when did it not be okay at one point, but now it's okay for everybody to do it. I mean, the language of the committees that I hear, the non-sanctioned committees, is the very same verbiage and language. It's on videotape that I implemented and started, that I was told it was no good, it wasn't needed, it was a farce, it wasn't worth having. But that Sauk Village for Informative Dialogue was packed. So since I couldn't use the village hall, we took across the street and we used the community center. And a lot of people in this room was there at that meeting. In fact, the very first one that I had was boycotted, but the mayor came, Trustee Burgess came, and some of the residents I see out here, they came. And the format for my committee was to allow those people from those different entities to be able to sit at a panel table, and the residents could come and they could ask any questions that they want to ask to them. Nan is here with the library. Somebody I remember specifically raised their hand and told her, every time I walk in the library, there's a lady sitting there, she's looking down, and she might not look up for 20 minutes. Nan stopped that the next day. So residents had a chance to come and they could voice any of their concerns in the entire village. If it was for the schools, I had Pastor Pitts on that panel for the churches, and we had 7 panel members there. They could talk as long as they wanted to talk, and it was a setting where if somebody in the audience knew the answer, they could jump in and raise their hands and they could answer the questions. And it was a good committee. It was a good meeting. It was a very intelligent and informed and articulate panel, and it was the residents and the stakeholders, but I was told I could not use the village hall. I was told I could not have my meetings for the residents, the stakeholders here. That was a legitimate concern from residents coming, and it was packed. Not with a few people having a club, but with residents from all throughout the village. And I worked really hard to get that disseminated, that information out by passing out flyers all over the community. And it was a great service, and people had a problem when we stopped it because it got too big for the community center, but I was told I couldn't have it here. And we was paying to use the community center to have it there. But now I'm hearing tonight that people only use the village hall, they want to use the community center that's not sanctioned by the village, and they don't want to pay. And not only do they want to use it, they already have been using it. They want to continue to use it. They've never paid for 10 years, but some of the things they've been using it for, and it's never even been questioned. It was okay, but it wasn't okay for me and the residents that had those concerns. A lot of these committees that I see, they're just piggybacking off the things that other residents had, and I'm speaking for myself because I implemented those programs, the Neighborhood Watch, under this direction, and also Sauk Village for Citizens with Informative Dialogue. If you know the information, people knew about the wells, they knew about the water, they sat on those panels and people came and it was packed over at the community center. So I feel that this village hall, from the time that I've been really involved in this village with politics, it's so political what goes on in this village hall right now. It makes absolutely no sense. And if anybody sits here and says they don't campaign in here, shame on you, because you do. And it is election season coming up. Everybody needs to just man up and woman up and tell the truth. You want to have what you want to have. You think what you're doing is the best thing for the residents. If it's that good, then pay it. Like I paid. Use the community center. You say they need money, we broke, they can get a percentage of the money that we all pay to use it. What you doing is so great for everybody, pay for it. $70 an hour, $50 an hour, $25 an hour, get on the schedule, and let's all have all non-sanctioned. Equality is what I fight for through my union and what I stand on. If you feel that this is the taxpayers' money, what are we using it for? Then let all the taxpayers in the whole village use it. For Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, churches. It was a dance squad on the expressway. I had to call the police last summer on the community over there on Peterson. They started doing a dance squad. They wanted uniforms, they wanted to get their ponytails done. So they was on the expressway, hopping all across the expressway right here, collecting money. I'm like, these kids are gonna get hurt. Who have you out here? Oh, we got our own dance group. They're taxpayers. They live in the village. Let them come and dance and practice in here. It's the same tax dollars. I mean, don't be a hypocrite. If it's good for some taxpayers, it's good for all taxpayers. Also, anything that's non-sanctioned, if you can use the marquee and put up your announcement, I didn't do it, but I was not sanctioned with Neighborhood Watch. I didn't do it for Sauk Village Citizen for Informative Dialogue, and I had the board directors of all the entities, the schools, the library sitting here. I didn't advertise that on the marquee. I wasn't allowed to. I didn't advertise Neighborhood Watch on the marquee. I wasn't allowed to. So all I'm asking is for equality. If now all of a sudden everybody that's not sanctioned by the village want to advertise everywhere, let everybody do it. Let the churches do it. I know these churches got a lot of fantastic stuff going on. They want their stuff up on the marquee. They want to be in the Sauk Talk. If you're going to open it up for equality and for stakeholders and for taxpayers, let them know that they are afforded that opportunity, because they don't know that they can use the marquee. These 18 churches in Sauk Village, they don't know that they can use the village hall if they want to. A lot of these pastors, they live in the village, they're paying taxes. Why can't they have Bible class here? Their church is being painted. They should have to go to Hometown Depot or Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, come on, let's keep it 100. Don't pretend like it's okay for some but not okay for others. Let's open up to the whole community. Let's pass out bulletins and flyers. You can use this village hall. All you have to do is go to the front office and pay your money to Sherry or Cindy or Mike and get on the calendar. If you're not going to open it up to everybody that's non-sanctioned, it has to be boundaries and guidelines. We need to stop playing games with each other and with the people. They're tired of it. Whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander. If it's okay for you to do it, it's okay for me to do it. But it wasn't okay for me to do it 4 years ago. And I worked real hard just trying to get a program, Sauk Village for Citizens for Open Dialogue. Many people in this audience came and they jumped in the conversation and we found out all kinds of stuff. And I can call them out and say what you said at those meetings. And you told me you enjoyed it. But it wasn't good enough to be in the village because it wasn't sanctioned. Lastly, I reviewed all of these policies and I looked through the ones for the senior center. I do believe that we should have equality for all the seniors in Sauk Village. I think that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If one group should use it, they all should be able to use it. If one group got to pay, they all should be able to pay. If any group is using it for free and they got one senior that live in the village, any group that got one senior that live in the village should not have to pay. Let's just keep it, like you said, across the board. One for all and all for one or none. Either everybody can do it or nobody can do it, but these are the rules and everybody have to play by the same guidelines. In regard to the community center across the street, I read, I guess this is a cover sheet that's on the policy, the lock box. I guess that's the situation with the key. If somebody wants to see it in the community center, it can only be shown to people that work at 9 to 5. They want to see it at night at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock. They can't get the lock box if it's inside of the village hall. Somebody has on the committee should be available to show it to them. If you have 7 people on our committee, we can rotate or have a phone tree to make that happen. It's all about the residents. It's not about us. When you're elected official, you sacrifice for the people. We're here to serve the people. It's not about what's convenient for us to do. And I hear in meetings that I sit on, meetings that I go to, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be bothered with this. It's not what you want to be bothered with. If you don't want to do it, move out the way and let somebody get in place that want to do it. Because everybody's not easy to work with. And I know I can pick on one person if he's still here, Ed Sullivan. with his rose garden and rose bushes and basketball and baseball. This man have called me every single day. Okay. He wants to get something going in this village, and I admire that he wants to do something. So what can we do to work with him? Whatever it is he want to do, will it work or it won't work? Tell him the truth and let him know what it's going to take to make it happen or not happen. But if you're on the wrong side, he called and told me he got threatened. If you're on the wrong side, you're not going to never be. Who can tell you that you can't do something and threaten you? That's just bullying. I've been a victim of being bullied, but I'm a big girl. I don't care. I got thick skin, and plus I fight back. Restrictions. No passing out any literature unless provided by Parks and Recreation Committee. This applies to the community center as well as Welch Veteran Memorial Park. I feel that you cannot stop people from passing out literature anywhere in America at this public ground. I work for the Board of Education. In the summer, churches want to pass out vacation Bible school. No, it can't go home in the book bags. No, it can't go in the classrooms. But we can't tell those pastors they can't stand on the sidewalk and pass out stuff about their church. You can't tell people I'm on Friends for Hillary Clinton and all kinds of organizations. Wherever there's a group, they go hop out those vans and get out there and pass out information, political or whatever. You can't tell people what they can't pass out in a public park or on the sidewalk. That's just my opinion. Finally, I just wish that we could all get along and that the policies would really be with the residents in mind and not with our personal agendas and our personal egos. Whatever we feel about each other personally, and we all have opinions about each other, I feel that we should come together and do what's best for the residents. I do believe that this room is overused. I do believe that this room has a lot of politicking going on. I do believe that we should vote on whether there has to be a policy or not, what's going to be going on in this room, and if you're going to let it be for non-sanctioned committees because they pay taxes, and for whatever reasons that you deem that's justifiable, then I think you should allow every resident that pay taxes in Sauk Village know that they have this opportunity. It can't just be for your group or her group. It has to be for anybody in the residence. Some people have still National Motor Club. That's a resident, but people can become empowered and be an entrepreneur and make money. They want to have their seminars and their trainings here. They live in the village, they pay taxes. What you gonna tell them they can't do it? Why? If it's good for one, it's going to have to be good for everybody. So think about that. If you open up this room for one person, you got to open it up for everybody. If not, we all should pay to use the community center, and we'll be invested in our youth, because I promise you, it'll be used so much, it'll be making so much money, we can have programs around the clock. Because right now, it's dead and it's dark over there, because everybody's not paying to use it at all, because they can use this room for free. Why? We need the money over there. We should all pay for what we feel is good for the community. And that concludes my statement.
Trustee Landis.
Couple of different things. I know that it was Trustee Burgess saying that I haven't done any meetings and suggested that maybe I should go to. That's a very good suggestion. However, you don't need to see a duck to know the class.
Can you use the mic?
Really don't think that anybody can hear it, but I'll use it. You don't need to see a duck to know the class. When enough people tell you that something is happening, then you know it's happening. And that's from both sides, and that's not just from the actual people who are in the meetings. That's the actual content that the residents, that the attendees, whether they're residents or not, are, how they're conducting themselves. That's why I don't think it should be happening in this meeting. Talked about, are we gonna lock out trustees, take away cast cards? No, I'm not saying that. I don't think that that's what anybody is saying. Trustee Washington didn't bring up this point, but I had it written down anyway, so I'm going to say it. Trustee Burgess, you said the residents pay for this room. The residents pay for the police department. They have a training room, so should they be able to have Girl Scouts over there? Should they be able to have any other meeting? Because the police department, why not? Leave it open. Fire department, you've got all these different rooms. If that's going to be what's going to happen because the residents pay for our village buildings, then fine, perfect. That's fine. I don't necessarily think that that's something that should happen, but like I've started from the very beginning, there needs to be a policy put in place. Trustee Burgess, you asked the mayor if we're here to do a policy, and Trustee Myers wanted to know why we were here. Trustee Mayor said it. It's because I asked this in the meeting. I also asked for a policy to be put in place. So while the mayor and I know we had different opinions on whether or not there should be a policy put in place, but it's my opinion that a policy should be put in place because you run into a situation like this. You look at the senior center. There's discussion on whether certain groups have been discriminated against. There's discussion of some people pay this and some people don't pay this. You know how you avoid that? Policy. When it's in black and white, there's no, you can do it, but I can't do it. When there's a policy on this building, on this room, you don't have Trustee Washington not being able to have Sauk Village informative dialogue. So she can, but me, the mayor, can. That's not fair. So I can have international dog catchers meetings here, but Trustee Jones can't have his trucker of the month club here. That, to me, that doesn't make sense. When there's a policy in place, there's no question. Does it fit this criteria? Yes. Does it not? No. And that's for the community center, that's for the senior center, that's for any building. That's why I said that there needs to be a policy put in place. Going back to 2008, you're saying that that was happening because that was a village policy that was put in place and not a Parks and Recs. The concerned citizens wanted to meet in the community center in 2008. They had youth programs, they had things, tutoring, everything like that. They were just a common village run of citizens, just regular citizens, no elected officials. They wanted to help the youth. They were told they couldn't meet there because they didn't have $1 million insurance policy. That's when that policy came out. So based on that, are we asking all the senior center, all the senior groups to have $1 million policy? Are we asking all of the community organizations that are going to meet there? Are we at the community center? Are we going to ask them to have $1 million policy? No, we don't do that anymore. But that's why I didn't vote for that policy in 2008, because if you're wanting to promote community people to stand up and raise up and be a part of the community and be a part of something, and you want them to be there, you don't put restrictions on them like that. $1 million insurance policy, in my opinion, is a little bit different than charging $20 an hour to hold a meeting somewhere. Oh, I know it's still, but I'm not sure that it's necessarily kind of, but it's a little bit different to have to charge to rent the center than it is to require $1 million insurance policy for a community organization that's trying to tutor kids and trying to get them to go to different community events or in this area and other areas. We have to be consistent. That's my problem. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you stated that the village board as a whole should not oversee policy for committees. I agree to a certain extent. Sauk website policy, no, that was never presented to this committee. That's never presented to the board. And I think that if the Parks and Recs committee wanted to determine a policy for how they create activities, I don't think that needs to come to this board. If Neighborhood Watch wants to have a policy as far as how they pick neighborhood captains, that doesn't need to come to this board. The difference is, these two committees oversee buildings. Buildings where people come and they have the opportunity to get hurt, to have events. It's different. Just like the Budget and Finance Committee we have a liability. We deal with money. We couldn't come here and say, this is the policy, I created this policy, I typed it up in this font, and I like the way it looks. So, Trustee Myers, you good with this? Yeah, I'm good with it? Okay, we're gonna roll it out. No, we had to bring it to the village and have it voted on by the entire board because it affected the entire board. Those buildings affect the entire board. Just like Trustee Myers said, when people, we've had the same few residents come to this board meeting multiple times and have stressed, we need your help. We feel we're being discriminated against. We have this, and this as proof. Blah, blah, all these different things. The board has been told to stand. We've talked about trustees, I think Trustee Jones mentioned that there was no trustee over the senior committee. Has any trustee volunteered for that? Well, I know I have. I emailed the mayor and the village administrator after the one meeting where I chaired for half a meeting and was so many different people came up and said, this is wrong, this is wrong. I immediately, as soon as the mayor walked in, I took my phone, I emailed the mayor and the village administrator, and I said, something has to be done. I volunteer. I will be the trustee over this meeting. For nothing else. there needs to be something. If the consensus of the residents and the board is stating that there needs to be an elected official over it, okay, fine, I volunteer. Anybody else want to throw their hat in the ring? Go for it. I'm just doing it because nobody else did it, to be honest with you. I have no desire to be on one more committee. But if that's what the board and the citizens are asking for, fine, I'll volunteer to do it. But that's just it. We can't keep saying things need to be done and then they don't get done. That's inaction. We need to stop doing that. We need to make sure that there's no question. That there's no question. Trustee Washington talked about people paying. And when I talk about fees, I'm not saying, you mentioned $50 an hour. That's high. If you want to have a meeting, I feel like that's high. If you're talking about a senior center, and I'll just pick the Sunshiners, okay? To me, they are a group of seniors that are grandfathered in. But they're a group of seniors that are meeting. They're not the senior committee. The senior committee can meet over there 47 times a day if they want to, and not pay anything. A group of seniors should have to pay. Whether you've been there for 40 years, or whether you've been there 10 minutes. And again, I'm not talking about $50. I don't think that if you have 7 people on your committee or group that want to meet, I don't think that 7 people can't come up with $10 between the 7 of them. I don't think that that's something that's unreasonable. When you have money exchanging hands, in my opinion, that should be a little bit more, you have a little bit more ownership, you have a little bit more responsibility. We have to pay to use this. We better act right. That's, again, just my opinion. I'm not asking to make money off the seniors of the village. I'm not asking to make money off the Girl Scouts or whoever else wants to use the community center. But it's a paper trail. You have a schedule, you come here, you register, you pay your $10 or whatever, and then you go about your day. You do what you need to do. We talk about the individual policies, and the Parks and Recs policies are much more thorough, definitely, from what I'm saying. But there's still things I have questions about. Things that we can't, how do we, kitchen policy, there's an extra $100 deposit. How do you monitor that? If I'm reading this and I know that there's $100 for the kitchen, and on the application it says, are you going to use the kitchen? Or $100? No.
Door locks.
Does the door being locked? Okay, so that's how you monitor it. You just answered that. Do we notify the police department when events are happening over there, just so, because the responsibility for premises, it talks about safety. Do we say, Rosie Williams rented out the community center on this date, just so you know? Do we let them know?
No.
Okay.
Well, at the previous time, well, that's a good question. They was going over to
So they-
submit their, right, of course, they knew the.
And I'm sure, when they pull out the parking lot and they see lights are on, I mean, I'm sure that they can see there that, if there's something going on. But if we inform that ahead of time, to me, it would be like, okay, well, Trustee Jones let us know that Rosie Williams is going to run out the community center on this date at this time, so that's a reason why the lights are on. But if I'm pulling out the parking lot and I see the lights are on, well, I don't know about it, that may be something we need to look into. And then, as far as the number of attendees, there's a different rental fee for the number of attendees. 35 or fewer is $30 an hour, 36 or more is $40 an hour. How do we monitor that? I understand the difference between a non-resident and a resident. Maybe $35, cut it in the middle. That way there's no question, because if I see, and that's just $10 an hour, that just might be petty. I'm not that type of person, but what if I was? And I would say, oh, well, if I can get away with $30 an hour and not have to pay $40 an hour, I'm going to do that. It's $10. Some people, that's how they are. Cut it across the board, $35, there's no question. But little things like that, and like what Trustee Meyer said, if the board has the opportunity to look at it, we can go over things like that. I'm not saying, I know the mayor has stated before, we don't want to go into a realm of the board micromanaging committees. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. But when it comes to a building that we're all responsible for, I think that that's something that's a little bit different. The Sauk Talk policy, that's something, I'm just taking my opinion, that's something that was a good example, but really, that's not something that's going to make or break anything. You don't have to have insurance to cover the Sauk Farm policy. We have to have insurance to cover the building. And I just think that it's important to, we've heard from trustees now, we've heard from residents now, talking about discrimination. And in my opinion, the easiest way to cut that out is to have it stated in black and white. And while I don't think we're going to come up with a policy today, to answer Trustee Burgess' question, which may be a different answer than the other, I think that there should be a policy put in place for this building, for the community center, and for the senior center. But again, that's just my opinion. And if that's not the consensus of the board, then we don't know how to bring this up again. But then I just want to urge everyone that when it gets out and we don't have a policy about this building, and because the taxpayers pay for it, that they should be able to have a meeting here. When people start saying they want to have their whatever meetings here, what I said before, Dog Catchers of America, when they want to have a Dog Catchers of America meeting here, and then they come back to the next committee meeting and say, I asked to have it here, and I'm a resident, and I pay taxes, and I wasn't able to do it. I just want to know who is going to answer that question, because it's not going to be me.
Trustee, I want to say something quick. And I've heard Trustee Myers, I heard you say something also. You know, again, the reason we're here tonight is because a senior group that wanted to use the senior center and coming and complaining that they're not allowed to use it. I've met with that senior group 3 times. So I don't know if the board realized I met with them 3 times. A couple times, the village administrator was with me when I met with them. You know, when I met with them, they said they want to see a policy. Statement in that meeting was, show us a policy and we'll abide by that policy. Okay, I went to the village administrator and said, is there a policy? They presented the policy. Now, they said they were going to abide by the policy, they did not abide by the policy, they did not agree with the policy, okay? Then they turn around and after looking at the policies, current policies, it was stated that they needed to rent the facility because they are their own organization, a non-for-profit organization, and they want to have their own time and have their own groups. They were given the opportunity to rent. However, they did not want to rent the facility. They felt that they do not need to rent the facility. So, again, I think there may be some miscommunication, maybe there's some lack of communication here, because some people are sitting here thinking that I did not meet with this group. I met with them 3 times. Some people are thinking that policies, there's no policies, there is policies, and the whole entire committee is made up of 6 village residents. I think it's 6 village residents, or at least one of them may not be because he's part of the committee. You know, that committee is made up of other committees of the 3 groups that are there, if I remember right. They all voted in favor of the policies that you guys have before you. You know, and again, a meeting with those groups, they said, we just want to see a policy. Every single time. When they were given the policy, they did not agree with the policy. Okay? They were given the opportunity to rent the facility. I told them, well, they did fill out the rental agreement. They didn't want to rent the agreement. They felt that they shouldn't have to. And I think that rental agreement was, what, $30? You're saying you think they should come up with $10. But if I remember, I think the rental agreement was only like $30. I think that's what I was told, $30, $35 is what it was going to cost them. So, you know, I think that I just want to make sure that the board realizes that there was steps that were taken. I did review the current policy, what former policy stated, and, you know, it's no different. And even when I talked to them, I said, you know, if there was a group out there, and I used the plan for the example, you know, the plan's been around for years. And if the plan was full of seniors and they came in and said, plan says, I want to use this facility, the plan would have to rent the facility. And I used a couple other examples of organizations or groups, and I could have used your group if you wanted to use it. It would cost. So, you know, for anyone to think that they were not given the opportunity to use the facility, they're wrong. They were given the opportunity to use the facility. Okay? If anyone thinks that as mayor I had not met with these individuals, I did meet with the individuals in a couple of meetings. I had a village administrator with me. And we met at length. You know, some of those meetings probably lasted a couple hours, I think. You know, so you know, they're one, again, they don't agree. No matter what they do, short of saying you can have the facility anytime you want it and for free, that's the only thing they're going to accept. All right? So, you got a response, you can see where it comes from. So the policies are in place, all right? Following policies. Again, I can go all the way back to 2008 and say, you know what? There's a policy going on back to 2008. You want to bring your not-for-profit organization in here, if you want to have your group meeting with only individuals that's in your organization or your group, you have to pay. You know, senior center is a little bit different. Community center, you can rent out facilities, and I don't think there's any age thing. The senior center has always had an age requirement, you gotta be senior. I mean, that goes all the way back to before I was a trustee, when the seniors used to be back here. Inside the senior center was half senior center and half community center, right? So it goes, that's been in place way before me or even you enough to vote probably. So, Trustee Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the other groups that use the senior center, they don't pay?
The other groups are senior groups that have been around for years. You've got 3 of them. And I'm not going to name them all, probably Sunshiners, Leisure Timers, and Fun Club. Those three committees are probably the charter senior committees, if you go back, because as far as I can remember, I can't remember which one was the first one, second or third, but, you know, they go back ever since I can remember being a little kid.
But I think what I'm trying to ask is, what I am trying to say is, if they're using the senior center, just because they've been there forever, I'm just feeling that at some point, policies and procedures, they do change. So I'm asking that maybe as a board, you can put something in place so that everybody that uses the senior center know, beginning effective March 2016. If you want to use the facility in the senior center, and you said they have a policy in place about you don't have to pay, you have to pay, is that included in their policy? A rental fee, because I know when I use it, I pay. But nevertheless, my point is, if this new group that want to use it, SRO, if they feel that they want to use the facility, that they want to use it for free, and they don't want to pay anything to use it, if they want to use it so many times a week or a month, or so many hours, because they feel the other organizations are in there, they're using it for free for so many hours. Can we put something in place saying that effective, I'm just throwing this date out, like March 2016, anyone they use for senior center, period, this is the fee, $20 an hour. I mean, I'm not wrong, I mean, this is say, if they're using it, like you said, forever, are they going to continue to use it another 10 years forever for free just because they've been doing it like that? They don't have to continue to use it for free just because they've been using it for free 10 years. Okay, you got it 10 years. How much more time do you want it for free? The lights, the gas, the toilets, the toilet tissue, whatever it takes, they don't bring it in there with them, but they use it, so we supply all of that. And like you said, they've been doing it for 10 years. This group just haven't even been there a year. And I'm not being biased towards any group, I'm just trying to put something in place so they can be fair. That's what I'm talking about, equality.
There's 3 senior groups. They've all been given the opportunity to join any of those 3 senior groups that are there.
They don't want to. They want to have their own group. They don't want to be a part of that. They want to do something new, which we tell residents all the time, come to the village, get involved in the village.
Let's look at this a different way. You know, we're talking about Parks and Recs. I've got a group that comes in and wants to have their own Parks and Recs. They don't want to be part of those Parks and Recs.
They don't want.
I know, because I've got an issue right now with Parks and Recs. I've got a group of people that don't agree with what's going on right now. And they want to come in and do their own thing. They don't want to go through Parks and Recs. Okay, so do I say, put on a other group, they can do the same thing? And who's Parks and who runs Parks and Recs? And if you want to speak up, you can speak up. I've been some people say I'm too loyal. Some people say that, you know, I stick behind the chair people. And I stick behind the committees. And just because one group doesn't think that they know what they're doing, or they don't like what they're doing, or they don't agree with what they're doing, doesn't mean that I'm just going to throw them out and say, okay, you take over.
It's done.
Go ahead.
But the difference is, Parks and Rec is sanctioned by the village. Somebody else cannot come in and have another Parks and Rec just because they want to. They have to get it sanctioned with what's in place that was voted for by the village. Just like any other senior committee, we have a senior committee that's in place, but other groups are using it. This is just a group that want to use it
The senior committee.
with the same privilege that the other groups have, using it for free. And my only thing is that they've used it for free for 10 years. We're not obligated to let these people keep on using it forever for free.
Senior committees are a approved committee, and if you look at the committee members of the committee, those are committee members, if you want to call them subcommittees, for these other three committees, or these other three ones. So it's no different than if, you're easy to pick on because you're here. It's no different than the Parks and Rec saying, okay, one of my subcommittees is going to be the Easter egg hunt. Another subcommittee is going to be the basketball program. Another one's going to be, the corn and dog roast, okay? If you look at the members who are sitting on the senior committee, they're the same members that are on those three committees. So those are there, if you want to call them subcommittees, and they're making their events. And I can't remember, I got a calendar that sits on right behind my desk every month, but, these other subcommittees, if you want to call them, they have a meeting, once or twice a month, or maybe once a week, once a month. So they have their subcommittee meetings once a month.
Okay.
And what you have is your full committee over there, who has the chair and the other committee members. So just like here, we have a board sitting up here. Each of you have multiple committees you're sitting on. Two of you are sitting on each of you have a committee, and you each have your own committees. It's no different than what this seniors are doing.
So whoever wants to, we used to somebody want to take over Parks and Rec, they just want to have their own program over there. It's the difference. If somebody want to have a program at the community center for the youth, and they go through the bylaws, and they bring it out, and they want to do something for the youth, Parks and Rec is not going to stop somebody that want to have, like we have people that may want to have a double dutch contest. And that's really big right now in the United States. But Parks and Rec don't have a double dutch contest under Parks and Rec. But somebody in the village want to rent the community center, they want to have that. If they can have that, we don't care about that. And they can use the community center, so what? So if somebody want to have another senior program, they don't want to be on the three that's already there, we don't care about that. They can use it if they pay, or if they don't want to pay. At some point, they're asking, can the other ones either pay too? They can't just keep having it for free just because it's been that way. That's what I'm
You
asking.
just answered your question, okay? If someone else wanted to have a double dutch contest, they can go pay and have one. If someone else wants to come in and start another senior committee other than the three that there is, it's based off the subcommittees, they can pay to have it. And they've been given the opportunity. You've already answered your question. You didn't say it.
I answered my question, but I also made a statement that they don't even continue to use the building, the senior center for free. That's what I'm saying. At some point, we cannot keep allowing people to use our facilities for free just because they've been doing it that way. Policies and procedures, they do change in time, so I don't want nobody to get sick off the bed or less known die. But if they, in their 50s, and they live 40 more years, and they keep putting new committees on as they do make transitions, they're gonna just keep on using the senior center, these three other committees, until whenever for free. If anybody else come and want to use it, they gotta pay if they wanna have a program
I've tried to explain
of
it.
their own.
I've tried to explain it. It's a committee, which is the senior committee, and they have their break off of subcommittees. Okay?
I just did a little different.
And what you're saying is, if you want those subcommittees to pay, then what are you gonna do when they're sitting on this board? Everyone, you have committees and subcommittees. Are you gonna say that you yourself are gonna pay to rent the facilities also?
Of course, I'm not substituting. But I understand what you're saying. But I was asking about moving forward. Things don't have to stay the way they used to be, just because that's the way it used to be. That's what change is about.
And I'm saying anyone can join the senior committees, and anyone who wants to use the facility that has their own organization, their own 401c3 committee or group, 501c3, whatever it is, if they want to have their own group, they can come rent the facility if they're a senior. If they're not the senior, then they're probably going to be looking to Parks and Recs to rent the housing units.
You're saying like public relations is a subcommittee of whatever that very long title of my standing committee.
And your police alliance committee, that's a subcommittee. I'm sorry.
So both of those would be subcommittees. So what you're saying is that if you wanted to co-host the with the village clerk, like or more, we're considered subcommittees, so that you would say that those committees would have to be paid to do that. So what you're classifying is.
I'm not-
Well, no. But what you're saying is, you're classifying leisure timers, sunshiners, and the fun club as being subcommittees. I don't know that has ever been presented, or that it's in the policy written that those three committees are considered subcommittees. It just says that they're grandfathered.
But it's because if you look at it, those committees, the people that sit on the senior committee are members from those three senior groups.
That,
I don't know if it makes sense or not.
it makes sense. I'm not sure that it's been presented that way. Because
It's always been that way going back for years.
It just looks like these committees, because they've been there forever, they don't have to pay. Now, speaking from a subcommittee's point of view, that's a different way to look at it. Whether or not they still have to pay, again, if that's the way that we're gonna go, with those three groups paying for the school committee, then that will also mean that your housing commission, all these different subcommittees would have have to pay rent space, which again, if that's what we're gonna say yes for the senior committee, then we have to say yes for everything, because there's been a policy that would be put in place. But I don't know that it was presented to the people who are wanting to rent that those three committees are subcommittees.
It was, because I met with them and told me the exact same thing.
Oh, I didn't realize, I knew that the members of the standing people, not standing committee, but the members who hold the senior committee, I know that they participate in other committees, but I never, guess I made a correlation of being subcommittees. So, it's a different perspective.
And that's the way it was set up years ago. Again, before you go back and look.
So the bottom line is that they want to use this, that we said that you never been retired, they know the policy, but they want to use it, they don't want to join those other three seniors committees, they have to pay to use the facility.
Correct. And he just brought up another point that, I know I've been shutting down, I'm sorry, but, there is events that the seniors have that anyone is open completely to the public. So they have events where everyone can come. So, trustee Torres.
There's about 45 different topics that are going on. I just want to address two, your comments. One is that there's no money transaction. It should go to the window, to one of the employees at the window. That's not true. I can recall several times over the years where I invited people to come to the community center, senior center, and I had to pay $1 per person because they were non-residents. And I paid it at the senior center. So don't say that they go to the county. That's not true. That money was a direct transaction. I invited people. I was told they were non-residents, had to pay $1, and I paid the $1 because they were my guests. So that does happen. Number two, your attorney told us last week, or excuse me, not last week, our last meeting, that these committees do not make policy. That's what your attorney said. So I think that we should get away from saying that the committees make policy. What they can do, they can draft things, make recommendations to the board to approve them, but they do not have the authority to make policy. And that's the mistake that I think was made with the senior committee. And I think this thing could have been short-circuited a long time ago, but in reading Sauk talk, you as the mayor, Mr. Fairman as administrator, village clerk, all approved them writing a policy when they should have been notified that they do not write policy. Well, that's what's in your Sauk talk. Well,
I don't,
I'm not the editor, I'm not the proofreader. I'm saying, well, since Sauk Talk, the three of you were given credit for helping to write a policy. They do not write policy, and I think you should stop saying that any committee does.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to real quick. The dollar that was being asked back then, that was the summer program, that we received help from Cook County. And that was during the time that we had summer help, and that money was taken over to, every day brought in and turned in. So
I don't know that. I'm supposed to pay $1, I pay $1.
And it was a summer program that we had, so the community center could be open
No,
all
it's
day.
not. No, it's not in the summer. No, it's not.
Listen,
Yeah.
first of all, let me say a couple of things, point of clarification. Number one, there's a difference in a village administrator and a village manager. I've checked with South Suburban Mayor's Managers Association, and there's a difference. Village manager runs the village and make decisions, and report to the board as a whole, to the president, like a corporation. Village manager, village administrator is the person that just administers. He doesn't make policy, she doesn't make policy. With reference to the city committee, the purpose of writing this policy was to try to get some kind of organization. It was written so that any person that was a senior here could come into that if you read it. Not trying to make policy that, like, the board could not approve some operating, if you want to say, process, so that we could stop some of the confusion. Now, with reference to the SRO, they were, it was written in that policy so that it had got some sponsorship, that somebody could come in there and sponsor SRO as a group, not as a corporation. And they would be put into the schedule. What we were opposed to, and I'll say it publicly, and I told the mayor, I'm opposed to exclusivity unless you're going to rent it. That's what I told him straight up in front of the committee itself. Now, you guys are the policy makers in terms of village operations. I have no problem with it. But that's what this whole thing was trying to create, the confusion that was obvious there. As a matter of fact, I went out and kind of upset some people in the village, including the clerk, I might say. Because a couple of times to try to resolve this issue, I said I'm opening as the village administrator to this particular group so it wouldn't appear that we were being discriminatory. Then the mayor came to me and said, let's write some kind of policy that they can operate within to try to get this whole thing resolved. That's all this was about. Not trying to take away any authority from the board or the mayor of this village. And that's my comment.
If I may.
Trustee.
So I'm hearing terminology going back and forth. Should I address you as administrator or the manager? Yes, sir. Oh, okay. I mean, you made a difference between the two, so I thought I was calling about the wrong time.
No, I'm just saying. My purpose for that is that, village administrator is like the person that operates the village. Village manager is not the person who has to report to the mayor or whoever's elected official, he will talk to, cooperate with the board, he or she, whoever it may be. They have a different kind of authority to go ahead and operate. That's what I'm saying. So it wasn't anything against what you were saying. I was just trying to make a clarification because Trustee Williams was saying, oh, I sent it to the village administrator. Well, I mean, if you send it to me, I'm not a policy maker, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I run big corporations with 4,000 employees with various different levels of supervision. I understand that. So my point is, this whole thing was trying to, and Trustee Burton, remember that we kind of tried to solve this whole issue earlier with this group by opening it up. And one day I was busy, he came in and said, you said you're going to let it open up for? I said, yes. What I'll say again, I said it in front of this public group. The other groups are not 401c3 or any kind of recognized organization. They may be groups that have been going on and calling themselves whatever they may want to call. But I was opposed to, and that's up to the mayor and you guys, anybody coming in and saying they want offices in this village, and then we got to give it to every other person, every other group that's recognized in this committee. So that's what I was opposed to. But in terms of them being, I think that was an effort. albeit didn't solve everything, to try to get this group in there so that they could feel that they're seniors and they could bring people in there if you read it right. You know, I mean, you guys can change it the way you want to, so they could bring somebody in there that was not a senior as long as it was with them. Okay, if they want to rent something for exclusivity, including this other group, they presently have to pay for it, and so should the SRO. I mean, that's just fair in my mind.
Okay, the way that this started out several years ago, I spoke personally to John Poskin to ask him about use of the senior center. And he gave me the village policy that spoke to non-profit organizations. Excuse me. It spoke to non-profit organizations. So I went back to the Sauk Village Citizens for Public Awareness and gave them that information. It turns out they were already a non-for-profit. Excuse me again. So there was no issue with them meeting the criteria to use the senior center. So I don't know whether or not the other three organizations are non-for-profit or not, and that's not my concern. But
One final comment there. Maybe that's not the point. The point was we're trying to get them in irrespective of who they were without getting into all this other thing, whether they're non-profit or profit organization. That was my whole purpose for trying to write a policy, you know, or operational practice. That's all it was about.
Right. And again, it was trying to get them in so they could use the facility. And again, it was offered, it's the same terms as everyone else. So, and again, I don't understand about going to Trustee Poskin, because Trustee Poskin's never had the senior center. Trustee Poskin was Parks and
he
Rec.
was over Parks and Recs, and he told me that the senior center was part of it. I don't know, I'm saying what he told me.
He never had the senior center. He always had Parks and
Okay,
Rec.
but that's internal between whoever was here. That's what he told me, and he shared the policy with me. And that's what I followed, because it was a policy that was given to me and said you had to do A, B, and C in order to participate, and that's what we did. Not bringing it up to date when I hear that the Sauk Village Citizens for Public Awareness, the 2 days that they were given and had utilized for a couple of years, was suddenly taken from them and declared an open activity time frame. That's what started the conflict. The conflict didn't just arise out of nothing. If they had been permitted to continue to utilize the center as they had been.
Excuse me, I can't hear up here. Well, you need to be quiet, so I can hear. You're gonna start.
That's fine. Did I never finish the car?
You speak plain.
I'm sorry, the battery died. What I said was that John Poskin at the time was over, I understand, Parks and Recreation, and he told me also the senior center. So I asked him for whatever information was needed to get the Sauk Village Citizens for Public Awareness sanction to use the senior center. He provided me a policy. The policy has verbiage there saying that to be a non-for-profit organization, a 501c3, I think is a terminology. And when I went back to Sauk Village Citizens for Public Awareness and told them what the information was by policy, they showed me information where they were a 501c3. They were given 2 days to utilize the center. Recently, it's my understanding that the 2 days were retracted from them and that they were declared open activity days. And I have not gone there since this transpired. So my issue becomes twofold. I don't think that you assign days, times to groups or even individuals, and you suddenly take them away unless they have done something or some major infraction where you say, well, you didn't clean up the kitchen, so we're going to take your days away. It's my understanding from everything I've read and I received two letters from the Sauk Village Center for Public Awareness and their subcommittee, the SRO, Senior Relaxation Organization. I'm trying to remember the acronyms, that addresses those issues. So bottom line is, as Trustee Washington has alluded to earlier, you take the slate. This is so easy to resolve. And maybe Trustee Williams volunteered to be over the senior committee. Maybe she can handle that. It's so easy to resolve this whole controversy and end it so that the village can spend more time on doing things that really affects all Sauk Village residents, not just the senior citizens, but all Sauk Village residents. And Mr. Sullivan, I see you standing out there, and I got something to say for you, but I'm not going to say it right now. But it needs to be put to an end. We've had people come up here for the last 3 or 4 meetings talking about the senior committees, talking about policies, talking about not being able to get in. It's a big mess that needs to be resolved, and it can be resolved very easily. There's someone who wants to resolve it and help this community move on.
And I'm not going to say a point to that because you're right. It is very easy to resolve. And there's been 2 options given to people. One, you can join the senior committee, or which they don't want to. They want to have their own senior committee. And 2, if you want to use the facility, you can rent it. So there's 2 options here. You can join the senior committee and use the senior committee during the senior times, or you can rent it. So those are there's 2 options. Again, following the policies and what's available.
Then it goes back to what one of the trustees said earlier. If those policies were put in place in 2008 or 1910, then they need to be revisited and bring them up to date. I don't think you force someone to join a committee to utilize a facility. They may not want to be a committee member. And Mr. Sullivan and I talked about this yesterday, that I'm sure some people here know about. We talked about the same thing. You cannot force people to be on committee in order to get something from it. That's a dictatorship.
Yes, it is. Violating civil rights.
Something to that nature.
It's not separate.
It's a little different for Parks and Rec because Parks and Rec is 1 committee versus 3 committees. Is that true? As far as the senior center?
Senior center is 1 committee that has 3 subcommittees.
3 subcommittees. Okay. Like, Respond Now. That's part of Parks and Rec, correct?
I have no idea, is it?
Whoa.
Are they considered a part of your committee?
Are they on your committee? Are they on your committee?
They're not, oh no.
Correct. So Respond Now is something that came under previous, how long has Respond Now been there? Did you write out the name? Okay, was Respond Now when you were there?
2009.
Yeah, no, Respond Now came right after I left.
So 2009,
Yeah.
Trustee
And
Anderson, Patterson? 2009, so Respond Now's been in there, you know, the bread.
Panel Bread was there before. Yeah, they've been there, yeah. They pass out the bread. Respond Now just started. They started out just passing out canned goods, and they went from that to perishable items. And they took over the old where the fireplace was at. And the seniors were meeting in that building at that time. And then as soon as the senior came over here, they took over all of that in the where the fireplace is located. But before that, they were just there. They had a little small spot, and they had a little small pantry. And that was in 2009.
And that's been there for a while. Again, they're providing service to the residents.
But they're not considered a subcommittee in Parks and Rec.
No. That's why I'm trying to get a little clarity myself.
But
Not.
But the building It's part, see, the building turned over to Parks and Recs after seniors left out of there. So therefore, that building is under the umbrella of Parks and Recs, because Parks and Rec doesn't run that whole entire building. Because at one time it was separate, it was senior on one side and then Parks and Recs on the other side. But now, does it fall under, is it, I would think that it would, that the seniors, I'm sorry, the Parks and Rec, since they're in charge of that building, would be in charge of respond now and have keys or access to whatever they have, because it is part of that building, it's not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've set rules.
Right.
I've asked of, I've told to, and I was respond back to. So, I mean, I just was assuming. That's why I want to get, since we talked about that now, I mean.
How about like you have at night, there's a dance, line dancing or
That's,
something? Or
no, she pays.
Okay, that her pays.
She's not part of the She was there before. That's something that's been going on before I was. No.
Do you have anything else going on then?
I have, well, get clarity, I would assume, the American Cancer Society. I believe she spoke with you at 1.2, Tracy.
Okay,
And
where are they?
they are providing a service for the community also. And I have spoke with the committee, and we want them to be a part of the committee.
So that is a sponsored committee event or activity or?
It's an activity and informational for the community, for all to benefit from.
So something that your committee's putting on?
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's
It's hosted by your committee?
right.
Okay.
Okay. That's all I wanted. That's as far as clarity on that. And
I know a lot of times, like housing committee, we used to have, when I had housing committee, we would have, events, and we would have NAR, whatever it was called, National Realtors Association, we would host those events. So they would come in and provide services for residents, and help people that live in their homes, provide access for banks and things like that. So,
And far as like, I'll give you a little clarity on the restrictions from passing our legislation. It's set up just like for the 4th of July or any event that Parks and Recs, or if anyone privately rent the park out. You don't want information. You make money and or for the 4th of July, you rent a booth. Not necessarily rent a booth, but a booth is provided for you for organization. So you can organize and you know who's there, what they're passing out, and you can provide a table and you can provide a space for them. You know, you don't want people just to come in and just start passing out anything at any one of your functions, or if you are renting out someone else privately renting out the park, you don't want anyone just to come out and start passing anything out. That's why this is put in there. You know, so you don't discriminate or have any literature out there that shouldn't be, that kids could get their hands on or anything. So this there is put for a safety reason and for organization.
That's different than what I thought it meant. To me, that's like.
Right.
I was saying that's something different than what I thought it meant, so I'm glad that you did explain that, because that would be on the same lines if you have vendors out there that's selling, and you got somebody pull up with a peddler's license and open up the trunk of their car, they want to have a candy store in the trunk of their car at your event, that you got vendors out there that paid a booth to be out there for. That's something totally different from passing out literature like that. I thought this just meant like the parks and and on the outside, that people couldn't pass out whatever was going on wherever, whatever's about to be working. You can't do that, you can't do that here. That's what I thought you was talking about. But that's totally different. I know what you're talking about.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You just can't just pop up and start passing out stuff that no one has looked over or read, and when you got kids around, you don't know what it's about. Yeah.
All right, anything else?
This policy that you want to pull, I think you're looking at that policy.
Is that policy?
From what I understand, in 2008, because I was actually one of the residents at that time that was complaining because I couldn't use the facility either for the youth group or for the citizens, I was state law. This policy was put in place because, as Trustee Williams said, we had to actually take our youth group to the library because we could not use the facilities for the Concerned Citizens Youth Group. And I remember this exact same policy with the $1 million stipulation that's still in there. It's still there. This is the policy that they were referring to at that time. Okay? This is all deja vu. We've got minutes going back to 2008 and before the residents were complaining about not being able to use the buildings. I was one of them. Javette Jones was one of them. When we had the Concerned Citizens Group. And I didn't understand why our youth had to go to the library for tutoring and for youth group when we had a good building right there for them to use. Just like Trustee Washington, before she was a trustee, she was told she couldn't use it. After she was a trustee, she was told she couldn't use it. A lot of us have been denied use of these buildings. I totally agree a policy needs to be in place. But when you told me to pull the policy, I believe this is the policy that you asked me to pull. I do believe it's been tweaked a couple times, like Trustee Myers said. I think Trustee Chavez had a little tweaking to it. I think Trustee Hoskins had a little tweaking to it. And just to clarify something, I didn't get through all those years worth of minutes. I got through several, but I think I could find a little bit of give and take in all of those years about what's happened. But one thing that I do wanted to make clear that I think that JW was trying to say was, if you rent the facility, you get exclusivity. If you don't rent the facility, if those doors are open, whether it's the senior center or the community center, and Trustee Jones is shaking his head, if you don't pay to be in there, then anybody can come in there. So when the SRO started having their Friday afternoon meetings, and we all decided to join them and play cards and play games with them, they just chose to stop coming. That didn't mean that their event didn't stop. They just chose to stop coming when we started to come. When you open up the building, it's open to the public unless you pay for it.
Anyone else?
My last comment. So any organization that's using the community center should be paying to use the community center, whether they're a community organization or not. They have to fill out a request to use the community center, and they have to be
The
paying.
application filled out, should be sent to.
And if they have not filled out an application, and if they have not paid the front office, regardless of who the organization is, the community center should not be opening and allowing meetings to be going on of any kind unless it's approved through the board.
Unless it's a committee meeting, committee meetings have to be posted 48 hours in advance. There needs to be an agenda. So if there's anyone in there other than a committee, and they haven't filled an application out, they haven't turned in, their deposit and everything, they should not be in there.
Okay, but okay, I agree.
Right?
Well, that's what I was saying here, for the non-profit and organizations that's going to benefit the community, that door must be open, first off. If anyone and everyone, cameras, you come in, you're invited to come in.
That's right.
And that's an understanding, and you still have to pay a deposit.
There's security deposit and fees.
Necessarily fees, or, depending on,
Are you talking about the kids that are?
no, I'm
You
not talking
talk about
I'm just talking about any organization that if the committee decides that they fall under, that they don't have to pay an hourly rate.
They don't have that opportunity. It's policy by the board. It is a bill policy. So, and if you look at it, it says not-for-profit or private, non-discriminatory groups or organizations are eligible to rent this center. First priority in scheduling goes to the ERC program, which is Parks and Rec Committee. So it says right there, they're eligible to rent it. So you have to follow the policy, and this is a village policy. You know, years ago, 2008, Parks and Recs lost their ability to determine who could pay and who could not pay. Everyone has to pay. So, right? The application needs to be filled out and needs to go to the front desk. Right, anything else? All right, move to public comment. All questions, comments must be directed to the mayor. The speaker will be given 3 minutes. Comment on topics of their choice. The speaker will be allowed 1 opportunity to speak. Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rose Langston. I'm hearing a lot of wrong information that the trustees have. I just wanted to reiterate what the Friday event was. Back in 2013, after our summer program, the mayor had indicated he would like to see more activities used in the senior center. I believe at that time village clerk came in and mentioned that the mayor thought maybe one of the committee members could take a day and open the senior center since the village could not afford a paid director in the senior center. We only have one person who was willing to do it because Sunday we had the bluegrass, and then one of the members was teaching Zumba, and then somebody else was president of another group. So they weren't available, so we only have one person who agreed to do it. It took several months before we were able to come up with a plan that was implemented that mirrored the summer program. That was, we started the Friday activities. We reserved Friday for the committee meeting. So we decided on the 2nd and 4th Friday. And at that time it was 12 to 4. This is the senior committee project. It was never an SRO. For some reason, some of the, going back to 2014, September, our representative for the Friday activity said he's having problems getting people in because they're sort of leery. So they didn't really have anybody coming in there to even play games. For some reason, I don't know how SRO came in, but they claimed that the 2nd and 4th Friday was their day, which it is not. It is the Sauk Village Senior Open Activity. We've been running that, and when we had resignation, we had 2 people handling it. One of the members decided later on that she would assist because the one individual could not always make it. Of course, I sat in one other time too. So then, after our resignation, after some random raving by one of our members, caused our committee to dissolve and our restructure. We had Frank Williams, our committee, said he'd step in, and we brought in a new member who agreed and said he was willing to take every Friday. However, the time was changed to 12:30 to 3:30. And starting in January, we're going to be every single Friday. But for the holidays, we went the 1st and 3rd for the last 2 months. So I just want to let you know, SRO never had the Friday event. They might have called it SRO, it was their committee group. It was not. Okay?
Larry Stewart, Sauk Village. A lot of that was a lot of lies. Sorry, I gotta call it what it is. I was that senior on that committee that put that program together. The senior committee didn't go against it, they agreed with it. I'm very upset the way this meeting is going. That committee that I put together lasted over 1.5 years. The committee that she's talking about today, Been there maybe 5 months. Sorry, gotta call it what it is. If you all wanna realize there's a lot of division in this village. I sat on that senior committee for years, and it can be denounced in any way they want to do it, and that's what you're hearing. I didn't like it. I sat on that housing committee before there were more than just 2 people, me and the chairperson. See, what's going on is put down, division, it's being divided unbelievable. I can't believe we're going to play on the senior committee and the Parks and Recs. But what I will ask the mayor to evaluate and look into is how much money in the senior committee? How much money? How much money on any one of those 4 committees that occupy the toilet paper, the water, the ceiling, the lights, the air? How much money is there? See, because they have that when they want it. But this one committee has to pay. That's what's in there. Mr. Fairman, you've been fair. I will give you that. Haven't I always said that? I will not take that away from him. But what he's up against is, you better be careful on who you work for. See, and I call it what it is. These things are wrong. If you think, go Friday, see how many people are in there, and I have the list of names and things to where we had a lot of people in there. But see, when you can't do what you want, you got overseers, watchdogs, sergeant of arms. My gosh, you can't do what you want? That's about like this town hall meeting. You're about to shut it down. You should have more of them. Because the people don't hear you. But guess what? I'm out in the streets every day. And they hear me. Some of this side recognize that they hear me. I'm done anyway.
Excuse me. You start my 3 minutes now. My name is Francine Anderson, and I live at 1606 216th Street. And I'm also in agreement with Mr. Stewart. I heard a lot of lies here today. And Mr. Mayor, you know that those policies have been rewritten since 2008. First of all, I can tell you when I rewrote it. That was 2009. I can tell you when Benson rewrote it. That was in 2011, going to 12. So don't tell me that you went all the way back and found a policy in 2008 that we're going to go back and redo. So why don't you go to the current one and then make some exceptions and then work with it. Because see what you tell the public and the information that you're giving some falsehood and you're giving some false vision. I thought we were moving Sauk Village forward, not backwards. So for you to go back to 2008 and not go to 2013, I got a real problem with that. Second of all, let's talk about what you have on your committee about why do SRO has to pay. Why they got to pay? Because they look like me? Is that it? Be real. We can take it, but guess what? Separate and equal went out a long time ago. We're going to be equal and we ain't going to be separate. Because we pay taxes, we want access to all of these buildings just like everybody else. You let anybody you want go in the back, use the bathroom, do any damn thing else you want them to do. But then you sit here and you have your new chief of police come and tell me to be quiet after I make 2 comments. Yeah, we spend our money, but you don't spend it well. So get it right and spend it right and do it right. You're going to include everybody or exclude everybody. Either way, you close the doors and put us all out, or you open the doors and bring us all in. That's simple and that's easy. But we are not going to let you sit here and talk about that's because you told them they could pay. Okay, I got their money today. So can they meet tomorrow? Can you take my $100 bill today, now out of my pocket, so they can meet tomorrow? SRO can meet because I got the money. SBCPA can meet because I got the money. Now, take their applications. Let us do it by your little so-called 208 rules. But wait till my attorney contact you about this separately. I'm equal. I got the right attorney. I'm tired of some of this stuff you're doing. It's unfair, just like Trustee Washington said, you do make it equal for everybody. If you can't can't make it equal, then leave it alone. Close all the doors. Don't do anything. Sit here in your room, spend the money that we don't have, hire the people that we don't need, and continue. But remember, 216 is coming. And I guarantee you, this voice will be heard. And I will take my 2 seconds to tell you, Miss Village Clerk, hello.
Well, it's nice to see some things don't change. Trustee Anderson comes in and doesn't realize everything's happening. So the reason we went back to 2008 is because the board made a statement, and she, again, whole time is not listening. Village board, there were some statements that the village board approved all policies for committees. So we went back and looked at village board meeting minutes and stuff to see if there was any policies that were approved by committees and we could find them. So I just want to make sure we realize, as I know, it's the first time she's attended a meeting in a long time and came in at the end of the tail end. If you want to pay for the group to have it, come to the window, go to the window and pay. As Sarah said, money doesn't go across our hands. And again, anyone has the opportunity to join the committee. And everyone's been given the opportunity, if they want seniors to go, join the senior committee. So, next.
Bernie Roman having to talk with citizens of public awareness. According to trustee Williams, he said the funds go to the village, okay? Now, in response to a FOIA request, I've asked many a time, where is the money? What is the balance in the senior account? They said 0. So where is the money that you're talking about, and what line item was it in? Also, during that time, I asked for the policies for the current policy for the senior group and the community center. They said no policies were there. You respond to the FOIA request, either somebody's lying or they just want to just say there's no policy. You are violating our civil rights. And to keep in fact that the fact is that SRO has been holding committees on the second and fourth, meetings on activities on the second and fourth Fridays every month. The senior chairperson, after the committee dissolved, decided to take it over. For no unwritten reasons of her own, she did. And I want to know why U.S. Investigation has free tenure here. Also, the Bluegrass has free red here. The Ceramic Group has free rent here. The Sunshine have free rent here. The BMW Crossroad has free rent here. Leisure Time has free rent here. Response Now has free rent here. All these people service the community that you tell us SRO has to be forced to join a senior committee which does not have activities responsive to the seniors in this community. I want to know, where does the word discrimination come at that point? And as Mr. Furman said, we did meet with you. We did. But you left out that SRO was assigned an overseer, not my words, the chairperson, to oversee. Every time that overseer came in there, he intimidated and harassed the members who was there. They were so frightened not to come back. Now, why in the world would we assign an overseer when no other group is? Why are we determined to have to pay rent? We didn't ask to rent anything. We asked to run our committee, our activities just like the other groups did. We are not asking to rent anything. And you referred to the 2008 policy. That policy refers to rental activity only. We are not asking to rent nothing. We pay taxes here. And I pay big time taxes. And we should be able to use that committee, that senior center, just like the other groups without paying $1. We want activities that are responsive to the changing demographics here in this village. And we shouldn't have to be saddled with an overseer who threatens and harass people in here. And I like to comment. And I also like this stuff in writing by you denying us.
Thank you.
So I turn it to my turn.
Next.
I just want to say, I talked to the finance director, and he said it goes to the general fund. So if you were to ask what the balance would be in the senior center, the senior account, and he told you nothing, that's because it doesn't go there, it goes to the general fund, which is why I said.
So that's another 40.
I don't think that it's right that the senior center or Parks and Rec doesn't get a portion of that. That's why I suggested even a nominal 10% for
have a this on behalf of the Senior Relaxation Organization, we should say the SRO. Now, it said we had to have a name, so we came up with a name. I think you're looking at the name with the wrong attitude, but I'm going to read this here.
Can't hear you.
On behalf of the Senior Relaxation Organization, I'm asking that you listen to what I have to say. The Senior Relaxation Organization, which is the SRO, subcommittee of the SVCPA, a Citizen Village for Public Awareness, recognized by the state of Illinois, is requesting that the village board review its request to run a SR activity program for seniors in the village, in Sauk Village Senior Citizen Center. In August of 2013, the SRO made a request to the Sauk Village Senior Committee to run activities on the second and fourth Friday of the month in the Senior Center. For the past 8 years, the Senior Center has not been used for at least 20 days out of the month. The building is unutilized and often used by non-residents. However, without proclamation or written notification in August of 2015, the Senior Citizens Chairperson took over the time slot allotted for SRO activity. After numerous meetings to discuss the matter with the mayor and the village administrator, issues have not been resolved. The SRO goal is to provide Sauk Village seniors with a safe and healthy environment for fun, free of intimidation and harassment. Our goal is to utilize partnerships that we have developed with other municipalities by providing a spectrum of services to improve the recreational, and social, physical, and mental well-being of the Sauk Village seniors. According to the 2010 population census, there are approximately 1,955 and older who live in Sauk Village. Yet at the height of any activity, less than 100 people
That is time.
use Sauk Village senior citizens.
That is time. Your time's up.
But what I'm saying right quick,
Your time is up.
we did 3 things. We signed in, we cleaned up, we had no policies, we didn't have no direction. Now what you want us to do? I want somebody to just tell me, what do you want us to do? You want us as a group, you don't want us, or what? That's all I want to know. Tell me something, that's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Whether you lie or tell the truth. Just tell us. Just say, if you don't want the group, you don't want the group. That's all.
I made it very clear.
I hear the same thing. I hear the same thing. You know, I
Tonight,
hear the
I made
same
it very
thing
clear,
every
I
time
made it clear
I
to
come to
the
a meeting.
organization when they met that they could join the senior group, which would allow them time to, again, to join the committees. There's also the open days on Fridays, which next month, they're going to be open every single Friday for any seniors that come in. Or if they wanted to stay as their organization, and again, it's the SRO, which is the Senior Relaxation Organization. It's an organization, so we realize what we're talking about. The organization would have to rent the facility. If they want a time of their own, they need to rent. Or they can join any of the other senior groups and participate in senior groups there. They can, again, they don't even have to be part of the senior group to come in and spend time on Fridays. And again, starting next month, it's open every Friday, open to the public. So I gotta just be a senior. So, next.
Right, Bob. I would like to finish reading what he was reading, but before I do that, I want to say this lady was wrong, because when Larry was with it, we did have a 7 and 4 Friday, from 12 to 4.
he was there till at least like 3:30, because I was the one that was cleaning up. So I know. Now, the thing what he's reading, take over on the last paragraph. According to the 2010 population census, there are approximately 1,955 older who live in Sauk Village. Yet at the time of spending activity, less than 100 people use Sauk Village senior citizens. Senior citizens should be open every day and used by relatives. The current senior committee activity are not responsible for the needs of the majority of Sauk Village citizens, seniors. The SRO shall make available to all Sauk Village senior citizens services that support their independence and enable them to remain active and in the affairs of the community. The SRO shall plan, evaluate, administer, and provide direction for our program to serve the needs of and interests of Sauk Village seniors. Again, the SRO is requesting to be allotted for SRO program. And we ask that your decision be provided to us in writing. Your prompt attention to this matter is appreciated.
All right, and again, I'll just make it very clear that seniors have the opportunity to join any committees and any organization that wants to have private meetings with private members, which this organization wants to have. This organization went even further, if I remember right, wanting facilities here within Sauk Village buildings with answering to no one, including this board, only to their organization. If your organization would like to have meetings, you have the opportunity to rent the senior center. Or if you want to become part of the senior groups, anyone can join the senior groups and participate in that way, or on every Friday it's open to the public, and any senior can come on those Fridays. So, next.
The thing that I would like to straighten out here is this. When this senior building, for whoever want to use it, I'm for that. But what I was told when they came up with senior relaxation, maybe we should let the person that's named that organization that explain what do senior activity relaxation mean. What do that mean? Do it mean that we come in to play cards? Or do we come in raffle? Do we come in, we jump off the wall? What do that mean? But here's what I found out. When we start going there to help play the game, they walked out. And I was told this. This is what I was told. We want to come in here as a black organization only. That's what I was told. Now, is that, can I say who told? Oh, well, okay, because I can. But that's the way it was with me when he said it. And I said to them, I said, what do you mean you want to have a black organization? We don't want to be in here with no...
Sit down. Hey, I have no.
But that's what happened with this. So if we all listen to what I am saying to you, to be able to open the senior building is for everybody. If you want to come in and play cards, we came in and we started playing cards and started playing things and doing everything like that. And all at once, they don't even want to show up. What is that? Is that the segregation or what is that called? We don't need to go back. Let's go forward. If you come up there for relaxation, come up there for relaxation. I don't know what the difference is playing cards. I used to play play golf, or which with Derek every Saturday night. When they came up here to play golf, that's what I thought we was talking about doing. But you know what? There's nobody coming in to play golf. We got a game that we sit there and play, and now we saying that we want to play. If people want to play it from 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening. But no, we can't do that. But if we're going to come in there together, and let's sit down and play golf or whatever we want to do together, and quit trying to separate each other. This is 2015, and you need to stop that kind of stuff. That's it for me.
Next.
You're welcome.
My name is Cleason Long, the president of Senior Relaxation Organization. We did not, there's no one in my organization said we want to be black owned. We didn't even mention that we were black. They found out that we were black by looking at us. And also, in our official complaint, was no race or black mentioned in there. And look at the paper, and you see the screw. You look at the minute, they said we can have our name and a stage and everything there. And someone reversed that. They said, again they said, the group that come in later, not your grandfather in, they would have to pay later on. They said that to us. Somebody reversed it. I thought it was a chairperson, but you informed me the committee as a whole reversed that. They're coming in and a new committee, a new one, and they reversed everything off the old one. We didn't see no minute, we didn't see no letter, anything. And when Madam Chairman came in there, the clerk came in there, they had this minute us. We didn't exist no more. She came in that many times when we were in that playing card. She said, come in there and say, how y'all doing? And left. If you want stuff, I'll be in my office. She didn't say she wouldn't play no card with us. And also, we don't exist. The chairperson said we don't exist. Senior relaxation organization exists. I told this 80-year-old man there. He said, what do you mean we don't exist? Why do you go there? I go there and get information. He got upset because I went there and they telling me that. But can nobody dismantle us? They can say everything they want. We want to get in there, we don't want to pay. We want to be just like the leisure time or other group. And if you don't do that, you haven't resolved the problem. And the problem is going to be running at you all the time. If you can't have, okay, I don't have a question.
I'm afraid you're gonna run out there for a second. You had time.
No, I didn't take it. I wouldn't tell nobody that.
Hey,
Not even-
please. You guys are too old to be fighting, I don't have time to get hostile, okay? Calm down, all right? Calm down, take a breath, both guys count to 10. Too much interest, tell me, all right? So, again, if you want to join the senior committee, you can join the senior committee. If you want to join the senior committee, it don't cost you a dime. If you want to have an organization meeting with your own treasurers, your own presidents, your own vice presidents, you've got to rent the facility. Okay? Again, I'll say it again. Every Friday, starting in January, they're going to have it open every Friday. So, next.
Jimmy Katz there. First of all, I want to say this is the second time I've heard that man being accused of saying something, and I doubt that he said it at all. Because why would you ask white people to join your organization if you wanted to all be black? And I have been asked to join it, and so have other people that I know. And the last time I looked, I'm white. Secondly, the board is, and you, Mayor, are confusing. And when you talk about this building and this room, the remark made that this room was made only for board meetings is a lie. It wasn't only for that. The transparency of what's going on in town is important, and if an organization or a group or a committee brings forth some policies, that's so that you can have some transparency on what's going on, and if somebody comes up to you and asks you about something, you have a little bit of knowledge. It isn't for you to micromanage anything or dictate to anybody. I think it's very hypocritical of people to make statements and not back them up. I heard about the town hall meeting and all these people that came to somebody and said they're political. Sitting here tonight was as political as you can get.
Yes.
A definite slam at Derek Burgess and the town hall meeting. And nobody hides anything. Every single meeting is video, just like this meeting. So if anybody wants to know what's going on, and I'm sure they all watch the video. The video is not cut because some of your people, Mr. Hanks, makes the video also. We come to a committee meeting or a town hall meeting for a reason. We have nobody sitting there saying, your time's up. We can voice our concerns and our complaints. And if that makes it political, then tough. We also, you talk about renting and doing other things, but not one of the trustees, old or new, not one, said anything about this immediate area that we're in that shouldn't be used for anything else. The bug people have it. They run a business out of it.
Yep.
Time.
You ain't got to, I don't want to leave out.
I only see two of my people here. Benjamin's sitting there, and Joanna's sitting over there. So if you want to know what my people look like, those are two of my kids. So, and I don't think they videotaped. Now that's I saw. So, that's only two of 10. So I'll try to make sure I have more of my people here at the next board meeting. Oh, I forgot. There's one of my people back there. Yeah. All right, next.
Stephen Shimkus, 46-year resident and senior board committee member. I just got a few observations and a few opinions of my very own. And sit there and think about what taxpayer-owned buildings we have in this town. We've got the municipal center, senior center, community center, police and fire department buildings, public works, and schools. Now, since taxpayers own those, do we let the taxpayers figure out what is to be done with those buildings? No, we use those, we utilize those buildings for what they were built for. Like, for example, police station. How are the citizens going to decide that anything other than police work is going to be done at the police station? Just like the senior committee building. Okay, we've got a senior board which administers the use of that facility. And I'd like to say that the Senior Relaxation Organization has never been recognized as a subcommittee by the senior committee. Now, some people may say that it was, or may say that somebody said, but it has never been recognized as a subcommittee. Because if it was, they would have a sponsor on the senior committee as on their Senior Relaxation Organization, but they don't. Because that guy resigned, and that's why I came on board, because he resigned. And what I would like to see the senior center used for is a Sauk Village senior resident, and you know, for the betterment of that. Because if we start becoming, you know, whatever the people want to use those facilities for, we become event planners and not committees based on our specific functions. And that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Next.
Ed Shankle, Sauk Village. I'm confused about Trustee Burgess said earlier about no one uses those rooms back there when he has his town hall meetings. November 18th, I was here and I noticed that a couple of female residents went through there, was gone for a short period of time, and they came back. One of the ladies sat down and for a few minutes, a short period of time, she acknowledged the fact that in the men's room, the water was running out. And Trustee Tate and Trustee Jones got to go investigate. So somebody was back there. That's all I can say. If you were to go on Facebook and look at the website called Little Village Again, well, you'll see November 18th listed. Next where it's on video. Female residents came out and mentioned it in the men's room. Back there, the water's running.
Thank God.
Kind of curious. Thank you.
Thank God.
Thank you. Trustee.
Mr. Shangle,
In response to that, the reason why that person used the washroom, because they were disabled, those washrooms were locked, and we did have someone escort them back there, and that's when the trustees came back and said that the men's washroom was running also. But we do monitor everything that goes on when I have a town hall meeting here, so that you don't, get it misplaced. We don't have people wondering, but when you have committee meetings, and you open that front door, and you open the door that comes back here to the area where the trustees are, that part right there is an open meeting. They can come in, but they go in and out. I myself cannot see what goes on back there if I'm inside of the committee room. But here, in this rotunda, I can see who it is.
Next.
None of you can go to a Catholic hospital because you're not Catholic. None of you can use the senior center because you don't fit a criteria. That is morally wrong. I think you really need to revise your policy. I think you need to allow a certain group of people to utilize the senior center. They're senior citizens. They pay $640,000 a year for this building, and they should be able to use it without paying more. Thank you.
And I'll make it clear again, they don't have to pay the joint fee. All right? Next.
Come, Cat. My name is Bob. When Mr. Burgess had this town hall meeting, the two females that used that bathroom are both considered handicapped by the Illinois Disability Act. And I want to know which member right here, right now, has a problem with her using that bathroom. Tell me right now who has a problem with her using that bathroom, her being disability. That's all.
Next.
Lady that you're referring to is myself, Zanona Ayers. I live at 2134 Poplar Lane. I have a disability. I can't run all the way to where the windows are to go to the bathroom when you guys lock these doors and don't allow any entrance to it. Do you want me to run up there and possibly soil myself? No, I don't think you do. And it's disgraceful that you'll lock the doors on the day when we have town meetings. Thank you.
Next. All right, Gina, move to question comments from the Board of Trustees. Ms. Langus. Trustee.
A couple of things. I'll start back from Mr. Wiswati mentioned the Catholic hospital. You're right. I'm not of the Catholic faith, and they would not be able to turn me away. However, if I was on a feeding tube and I chose to stop that feeding tube, they would tell me that that was suicide, and I could not do that in their hospital. I know that for a fact because when I used to work for a Catholic nursing home, we had the exact same situation, and the resident had to be moved because we had to follow their policies. It is their policy that if I wanted to have an abortion in their hospital, I could not do that because that's not part of their policy. So this is something that goes with policy. If that's what the hospital says, we have, that may not be your point, but you brought up, you have to
Hang on, residents don't have a right to comment, okay?
You can't be
Your
turned away.
comment time is over, you have no response. This is the trustees are responding.
Regardless of that, when you have an entity that has a policy, you need to follow the policy.
Non-residents too.
Okay, number two, I really appreciate the fact that this item, that is such a high point of contention, was asked to put on the agenda, and that it was, because I asked for it. It's great, I love spirited conversation. Nothing was resolved. Are we going to have a policy? No. I volunteer to present one, so look forward to your emails. Another thing, it was stated that I created, or it was insinuated, I won't say that it was stated, that there was a personal jab at Trustee Burgess in his town hall meetings. Let me apologize personally. As I've stated before, I have never said that I've come to your meetings. I'm not saying anything about you or your town hall meetings, but if anybody who has been to those meetings or the Meet the Mayors can honestly say that one person hasn't talked about another board member in a negative light, then every person who's told me that it happened is lying. There is negativity. There is negativity on both ends. I'm not pointing at that's the Mayor David Hanks, Trustee Derek Burgess. There is negativity. That's why I think it should happen in this meeting. So that you can personal jab to Trustee Burgess, personal jab to David Hanks. And that, again, that's just my opinion. We're still looking for donations for the Shop at the Top program. Due to lack of communication with the school district, we still didn't have the name, so the Shop at the Top program will not be this Friday. My understanding, Mr. Johnson has been in and out. I'm not sure why, but he has not been able to respond to me as quickly, but we do have a contact now. And we are working to reinstitute the program, and we're looking for a tentative date of December 11th. So I know that I've mentioned a couple different times for if any of the board members want to donate, please let me know. And we're also looking for donations for the Carols, Cocoa, and more. The budget committee met yesterday, and we are currently reviewing our budget up until the 8th month of the budget year, which is what we're coming into now. We are hoping, we have scheduled our meetings for the first Monday of the month, and so we will be meeting December 7th again. And we're hoping to review that information, and we hope to be able to bring this to the board, since we don't have a meeting after the 8th, which is a board meeting. Then we're hoping to be able to bring it to you in the first committee meeting of January, which is what our findings were. Also, it was discussed. It was discussed for a change of pay for the trustees as a cost savings initiative. I explained that would require a change in the ordinance. So we will be discussing how much further we're going to want to go with that. And if it is decided by our committee to present that, then we will do that at that time as well. And I will be reaching out with the ordinance review committee and our attorneys to create a village ordinance regarding electronically participating in meetings. It has happened before. We've had Trustee Benson call in, the mayor has been prepared to call in if needed to participate in meetings. And I know that there's state statute about it, but we don't have an actual ordinance or policy in this village. And due to my current situation, I'm not sure how many meetings I'm going to be participating in, so I want to be prepared that I don't want to stay away from the village. I want to keep my commitment, but if I've got to scream at you, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be sitting there unless you guys want to pick up. So I'm going to reach out with that and see how this can happen and make sure that we're following state statute, we're following guidelines, and in case anybody else is out of town for work or whatever, then we'll have this policy in place. So it is my hope that I can present that to you guys, and that we will have that by the end of January. That's all.
Remember one thing, state statute, if you change pay of trustees, state statute says it doesn't go into effect until either the trustees reelected or a new person is in that position.
Yeah, I did explain that.
Yeah, trustee Burgess.
I just have, well, I have a few things. I just have one question, trustee Williams. Are you talking about decreasing the trustees' pay in the next, that would be the next election, correct?
There was talk of increasing, there was
Okay.
talk of increasing, and there was also talk of maintaining the structure similar to how the mayor and the clerk are, there's a salary, and regardless of meetings, there's just a flat salary that the person is paid.
Yes.
So, because part of that was because the first payroll of the month is always slightly higher than the last payroll of the month because the trustees get paid the first payroll of the month. So there was a flat amount that the trustees got paid every 2 weeks. There was discussion on how that would affect the budget. And I did state about the ordinance, state statute. So it's not something, like I said, that we're ready to present because I think there's something to be a little bit more conversation about it. But it was something that was discussed, so I wanted to.
Okay, I just wanted to get that part straight as this, because as you stated that the village clerk and the mayor, if we have no meetings, they still get paid the same amount. Okay, I just wanted to, since I'm seeing like I'm the elephant in the room, I don't know, but I didn't bring this up, but anyway, the town hall meetings, I didn't want to be arrogant, I wasn't trying to be a bully, but the people attend those town hall meetings on an average of 40 to 45 people each month. And they come out and ask questions. They get a little heated. They want answers, or they discuss things between themselves. As far as politicking, I'm not and have never sat there and asked anybody to vote for me, to put me in office, or to even talk about that I'm running. And I never even committed to doing any running like that. I just got elected as a trustee to help, as they say all the time, move this village forward. I'm not concentrating on an election. That's 2 years from now. Right now, we got problems, big time problems in this village, and money is one of them. And that's one of the things I'm trying to make sure that we keep focus on the money. No one even talked about it. We just levied $2.3 million. That means your taxes are gonna go up, whatever it may be, is gonna go up. We levied 79,000 more than we levied last year. So that's why it's at 2.3. It was 2.2, it's at 2. Okay. But still, that's what we need to be talking about, not who having what meeting and why you cannot exclusive and who. This is your money. You should look at where it's being spent, how it's being spent, how is it being added. I do have a problem with it not having money or an increase with crossing guards. When those kids walk out that school and they walk into these streets, those kids are our kids in school, those kids are our kids on the street, and those kids are our kids when they walk across the street. If you want to increase so we can get more guards. Talk to the District 168 about adding more crossing guards. Maybe we can have a dialogue with them back and forth so we can have crossing guards at every intersection out here in the village, not just 1 or 2. That's money that we need to talk about what we're going to do, not about who meets where and all this other stuff. I asked, I think maybe 2 or 3 months ago, to have a public comment ordinance, and I just wanted to know, is that going to happen soon? When we have 5 minutes and ask any topic on any question. As you can see tonight, we have a lot of questions. It's 10:30, quarter to 11. We have a lot of people. That's why you have town hall meetings, so they can at least express themselves and feel better that somebody's listening. Not sit down and let the police chief escort you down. That's what this is for. I think it's very, we shouldn't have, this is not a police state. If a person wants to talk, yes, you're right. Tonight is not the time, it's all the time to be long-winded. But there should be a time when the people can't feel that they can be long-winded, where they can ask questions, where someone will listen and then talk to them. Not just talk at them, or not just tell them what they want. Listen to them. That's why that was created. That's the reason why the town hall meetings were created. so the people can have a chance to talk. Mayor, I asked, and I think a couple of other board members asked, and you stated last month, that the senior committee and SRO were going to be on the agenda tonight. That was asked to put them on the agenda. We see now was the reason why it should have been on the agenda so they can discuss. Not be talked at or told, sit down, have a seat, 3 minutes, that's it. They asked specifically that they put, not this discussion about committee meetings. We said at the last committee meeting last month that this would be on the next month's committee meeting to let the senior committee members speak and let the SRO, the group that wants to come in and be part of the seniors center over there and bring a group so they can air out their differences so we can sit and listen to what they had to say. But this was a back and forth confrontation today, and it was given, and it was not itemized on the agenda, was what we thought, at least I thought, that it was supposed to be on. So, Mayor, I'm hoping that you do reconsider your decision as far as any new group coming in either has to be part of another group or they have to pay. I'm just asking that you reconsider that. I've asked before if things be reconsidered, but, you know, I'm just asking right now that you reconsider and that you eat. I know you said you met with them. You met with the SRO and you told them that if they wanted to be a group, they would have to pay. They wanted to be exclusive, or they wanted to have, because they're correct. I mean, the people that got up here are correct. There's 3 senior groups here, grandfathered in. Grandfather means it's been going on for a long time, but it also means that there's been no changes. It's time to reconsider what you have here in this village and at least adhere or listen to the things that they want to do, not just work what we did in the past in 2008. This is in 2013. We have a chance right now to rectify some of these rules. They amended the Declaration of Independence. And that was written in 1776. But they amended, we need to amend some of these rules and regulations that we have right here. And at least adhere and listen to the people that are here. Not the ones that made the rules, because the ones that made the rules back then are gone. That was back in 19 whatever. I'm going to say 59, 60, 61. It's 2015. It's time to at least amend some of these rules and allow some of these things to happen. And I'm hoping that you're open-minded enough to, instead of just saying no, at least listen to them. And last, shop on the cop, or shop with a cop. The Police Association next Tuesday is going to present to Becky the money. So as far as you've asked me for mine, I paid mine already. So we're going to be presenting her with money to shop with a cop. It'll be at the board meeting next Tuesday. I guess the Police Association President, Jeremy Underwood, will be here to present Becky with the money. So at least they can get started. Okay, that's all I have.
Trustee Davis.
Couple of semi-quick comments. As some of you or most of you know that Mr. Ed Sullivan came up here yesterday and met with me. As you know, Mr. Sullivan has pioneered and talked about the Rosebush program that he has planned for the Veterans Walkway. And he came up here, and the first thing he asked me was why wasn't he on the agenda? Because he's supposed to be on the agenda to speak tonight. And I advised him that I did not know the answer to that question, but he could send a letter, write a letter to the village clerk who wasn't here at the time. And Mr. Fairman agreed to forward that letter for him to be placed back on the agenda. Now, in discussing with Mr. Sullivan, some things came up, and we talked about quite a few things, as we normally do. He mentioned and I think he alluded to it at one of his times in front of us, he's been here about 3 times, I think, was that he attempted to speak with someone on the beautification committee, and there was some fallout, something was going on with that. It didn't materialize. Then he was told he needed a committee to get this thing off the ground, which was not true. Then we find out in discussion yesterday that he was told, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I heard you say that he was going to be on the January agenda.
He asked to be on the agenda, but the mayor sets the agenda. The mayor said that this is not on the agenda this time.
What was that about January?
That we have another meeting in January.
Okay.
I didn't take him off.
And I would heard that January he would appear again. If you remember when Mr. Sullivan first started talking about the rose bushes, and I laugh because I don't know anything about rose bushes, he indicated that they had to be ordered by November so that he could receive them in enough time, which was his understanding of why we were going to talk about it tonight, not last month, so that we can get out his paperwork and get them ordered and whatever needs to be done. By placing him on the agenda for January, makes it at least 60 days late for him to place his order. And then I advised him yesterday that he should speak with the mayor, who I understand is the chair of the beautification committee, and get some resolution to what can be done on that. And I'm not sure that conversation has occurred, but Mr. Sullivan is capable of talking for himself. But I think what needs to be done, someone needs to tell him while he's here, thanks for speaking around, Mr. Sullivan, tell him you are or you are not going to support his rosebush thing. If there's no support for his rosebush program, let the man know so he can move on to something else. I don't see him coming back here every month, back and forth, and we nitpick. And I say we collectively because I'm part of this board. We nitpick and say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why? It's ridiculous. Tell the man yes or no so he can move on. It doesn't make sense to string it out like that. I'm off with Mr. Sullivan for a moment. Something else that kind of bothered me at the last meeting, and I looked into it. Trustee Burgess brought up a question about the consent agenda that we have. And Trustee Burgess, I'm glad you're sitting there, correct if I'm wrong. His comment was that if it's not unanimous, you need to vote on each item, something to that effect. And the mayor and the mayor's attorney said that wasn't true. Well, that is true. And there's a state statute that says it's true. If part of the consent agenda is not I hope there was a child scream. If someone objects to part of that consent agenda, then that item supposed to come off and you vote on each item on there. So the information that you were given by the mayor and his attorney was incorrect. And so I just want to make that statement that everything you hear in these board meetings is not true. So do your own research. Look it up for yourself to make sure that what you're being told is accurate. Because it's not, and I'm finding that out every meeting. Every meeting. Look at the taser incident that we just had, where the deputy chief of police was shut down when she tried to talk about the tasers. She had a folder of information that she offered about the tasers. But we as taxpayers, paid the attorneys money to draft a policy
on tasers when the policy already existed? Do we get reimbursed? Ask yourself that question. So when you're told that something doesn't exist, a taser policy doesn't exist, and I'm sorry, Mr. Fairman, you weren't looped into that. When you're told it doesn't exist and it does exist, there's a problem. So whatever you hear in this meeting, and I don't care if it's from me or anyone else, look into it for yourself. Check it out for yourself. Just don't take anyone's word for it, because this board lies more than it walks. Thank you.
Saturday, we have the Santa Claus parade on the 5th. Santa Claus is coming to town. And that will start, you will start hearing Santa Claus sleigh around the town somewhere in the early morning time, around 10, 11 o'clock. And there will be a break at the fire station. There will be refreshments, hot dogs, cookies, treats. And then at the community center, there will be some treats and some magical things that Santa will bring. And there will be some you have pictures with Santa Claus. And come on out. It should be a good weather day for a change. Hopefully, but it should be fun. And Parks and Recs committee meeting will be this Thursday, 7 p.m. at the community center. And I have one question, but no one mentioned it. I haven't seen any hard paper on it or anything. I've seen some literature or a lawsuit on Facebook about the village being sued for $5 million. And I'm just wondering, has anyone else heard?
No, we're not talking about litigation. We're not talking about litigation, it's in executive session.
I'm just asking if it's true. I'm not asking, I mean, is there any truth to this?
I'm not going to respond to any questions about litigation.
That's it for my question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 quick announcements. I want to remind everyone that we'll be having our meeting as we do every month on the second Monday at the fire station at 7 o'clock. Also, for our Block Club captains has been working very hard this year, and particularly in the month of August and in the month of July, the tag days that they had to make that second annual book bag giveaway, 250 book bags. We're going to combine a Christmas party along with our meeting in December at the fire station. So all the Block Club captains and all of the people that helped to volunteer to make those programs a great success, tag days as well as the book bag giveaway. We're going to have a Christmas party, and it's going to be a good one, so you don't want to miss it. I want to invite those people to come and participate. And also the effort to promote community involvement as well as public safety. Neighborhood Watch, we are presenting a live play April the 15th at Rickover Junior High School right here in Sauk Village, entitled Are You My Neighbor? And we are having auditions and cast members that want to be at different scenes and different parts of the live play that Neighborhood Watch is going to put on. We're very excited about that play because it's getting the community involved in it, and I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and they're excited about being a part of the play at Rickover as well. And we're going to be asking for a donation of $5 at the door for adults and $2 for students, and from 12 to about 5, and then 5 and under will be free. And those will be the beginning of our donations to go toward the commitment that Neighborhood Watch have made to exceed our 250 book bag giveaway this coming August to 500 book bags with supplies. So that's going to be a lot of work, but the committee talked about it and they're up to the challenge. We know that there's a great need in Sauk Village. A lot of parents are always appreciative of the help. We get so many compliments about the program, so we're going to try to push a little harder this year and double what we've been doing for the last 2 years. So again, if you want to be a part of our play that we're putting together, that we're writing and doing, a lot of the Plot Club captains are funny in their parts that they're going to be playing. So we're going to have tickets ready to go on sale starting in January, and we believe it's going to be a sold-out event by the time we actually put on that performance in April. We'll be having a flyer about that going throughout the community very soon. I did just want to report on that tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, she thinks she's gonna give me this thing, I don't think so. Okay. Chief Golf President has asked me to make one announcement to the public and the trustees tonight, that he has received a phone call from the attorney to review the contract, and he said he also spoke with you and the JW. And they have okayed the contract for the fire apparatus that we're looking at. And Mohan is doing final work up on the figures. And when the state sends their check to us, we will immediately take that check and rewrite another check, deposit it, rewrite another check to the vendor, and then we deliver it. By doing it up front this way, we can also get another 10 to 15% off of our price. And the couple of ordinances I've been working on for the last couple of weeks, a few weeks, I had them all set, ready to present to the committee. However, the attorney pulled two of them back and stated that the change in the state law, they had to look at it, and it may have to go back to my committee. There's something changed to match up with the state. I am planning to have a ordinance review committee meeting in December. We will talk about the council, but I will have a meeting. I will come out with a date next week. With that, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and make sure you come out Saturday. It's going to be a very, very nice day. Sad as going to be butter out down. That's all I had for it. Thank you.
All right, then trustee. All right, a bunch of things covered here real quick. First of all, in case anyone doesn't know, bathrooms are available. You go straight out, you go to the left and to the right, there's bathrooms. We do make sure the bathrooms are open. I know some people may want other bathrooms closer, so we'll take a look into that. I've said it many times tonight, if you're a senior, you want to join a senior group, Sauk Village has a senior group that you can join. If you have an organization, if you want to hold your own and have your own organization, we have facilities that you can rent, okay? Sauk Talk is out. There's a lot of things going on. Just kind of real quick, the food basket collection. You already mentioned Santa Claus coming to town on Saturday. Pancakes with Santa at the fire station on December the 6th. So we've got that going on. Carols, Cocoa, and more. A lot of things going on during the month of December. So get yourself a Sauk Talk. On Friday from 10 to 4, Dunkin' Donuts is having a grand reopening. So, get down there and support a local business. I'm kind of like all over the place here. There's mention about crossing guards. And, I think that, if we want additional crossing guards, we should really be talking District 168. Last year, District 168 had a surplus of 14 million. We had a deficit. So to be able to bring on more crossing guards, again, these are kids going to District 168. I think we should really be talking to schools. Again, the schools, one reason why they're not putting any money toward the crossing guards is because they put a bus service in place. Every child has the opportunity to ride a bus to school. So that's why they will put no money down for crossing guards. We've had this discussion with District 168. So, consent agenda, I'm glad the trustee did a little bit of research because he probably needed it. But, the consent agenda, that's why every time I ask, when the consent agenda comes up, if there's anything that the trustees would like to have removed or taken off the consent agenda, before we go forward, Again, that's the reason for it. So when that comes down for a vote, if they don't ask for anything to be taken off, it's voted as is. So it's glad that Lisa's doing a little bit of research. Anyway, I've heard a lot of things talked tonight about meetings and stuff in this room. You know, I just want to make sure everyone realizes, you know, elected officials don't get special attention. I heard the trustee said they're going to continue having meetings, you know, here in this room. You know, it kind of concerns me because, you know, we hear that residents say, these are our facilities. You know, trustees, your elected officials also, you don't get any special treatment. You know, and if we say a village resident can't have a meeting in here, you know, again, I know Trustee Williams said something about, you know, we kind of differ on the policies, and it's true, we do. You know, but one thing I look at is, you know, although I may not be in favor of a policy, however, a policy would bring consistency. So, you know, I'm interested to see what she's going to bring, because it seems that, you know, we're all adults here, but, you know, it doesn't matter what majority say that, you know, we're going to do what we're going to do. So it does kind of concern me that, so. And, you know, lastly, I always say, I wish everyone could see what I could see. And if you all want a good laugh, just look to the left of me, the very front row, in the corner. I got this lady making faces at me all night, calling me a liar, and it's a senior, it's just hilarious. So if you ever get bored in a meeting, and again, it's almost 11 o'clock, all you gotta do is just look. So,
Now you're gonna point out people in
so,
she's not elected.
all right, but that's it. I ask for a motion. We have a motion to adjourn. Got a second? Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Yep, all in favor, say aye. Meeting adjourned.
Everybody else.